Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is cast from his clan for not being special enough like his siblings. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The village hidden in the leaves, Konoha. It was and still is renowned as being the most powerful of the 5 great villages. It was currently under attack by the strongest demon. A 9-tailed fox demon, the Kyuubi. The shinobi of the village were laying down their lives to defend their homes. We have to hold it back, a shinobi shouted. They knew they were only stalling for their leader. Ah! A scream pierced through the battle. It was loud enough to halt even the Kyuubi's rampage. Only one type of scream could reach that specific level. It was a scream of pain that only females were accustomed to. One that males were lucky to never have to experience. Someone was giving birth. Come on, Kushina-chan, push! A male voice urged just one more push. The voice belonged to the yellow flash of Konoha, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage. Damn you, Minato! A female voice raged, you put these things in me. This voice belonged to the Red Death, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, the wife of the Hokage and mother of his children. Come on, Kushina! He mentally pleaded. The plan won't work without them. Another scream tore through the room. This time it had help. 3 newborn babies were crying along with her, just for different reasons. See? Minato spoke. That wasn't so bad. This earned him a hard glare. So what are you going to name them? A wise voice asked. Turning, they saw the former Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Beside him were 2 of the legendary Sannin, Tsunade and Jiraiya. Mom. Minato spoke, holding the boy. I'd like to name him after Uncle Nawaki. He then held the girl. Kushina wants to name her Mito. He grabbed the last. We decided to name him after Dad's book. What? The first one, the clean one. He quickly added to soothe her rage. Naruto. They turned their attention toward the 3 children, triplets. The first and eldest by a few minutes had a blonde hair, Naruto. The second had bushel of light red hair, Nawaki. The youngest had a tuft of dark red hair, Mito. The slug Sannin was touched by her son's kindness. Both names had belonged to important figures in her life. His father Jiraiya just proudly watched in silence and understanding. He didn't mind in the slightest. After all, he had one named after his work too. The Uzumaki blood is strong in them, Kushina stated tiredly. Her head is as red as mine. The moment of silence had been ruined. Minato-kun. Hiruzen spoke sadly. You know you don't need to do this. I do. Minato spoke firmly. You entrusted me with the title of Hokage. I'll dash. He never had the chance to finish thanks to a karate chop to the neck. You have years ahead of you. Hiruzen spoke. I'll take of the fox. He turned to Kushina. Which one? Take Mito. Kushina spoke. The Uzumaki blood is stronger in her. The Kyuubi could be seen by all as it was vanquished. Each and every last shinobi watched as it was pulled away into the child. The praises for the child could be heard all over the village. Their praise was also for the 3rd Hokage and his final sacrifice. Only one man didn't celebrate: the Namikaze household. Minato Namikaze wasn't in a happy mood. Once he had awakened, he was informed about the 3rd's action. He took away my glory. The 4th thought bitterly, but after a moment of calming himself, he thought of the best action. But he gave me another chance. He was alive. He had plenty of great things he could do for the village. Especially now that we have our weapon. 6 years later, a 6-year-old Naruto stared in contempt from on top of the clan wall. He watches as his parents trained his younger siblings. Minato was teaching Mito how to mold the Kyuubi's chakra. Kushina was teaching Nawaki how to mold chakra chains. They were training hard on their abilities, and proud of their work. Naruto would be lying if he said he wasn't jealous of them. Maybe if I had been special like them, I'd be loved too. He thought bitterly. They trained his younger siblings while he was forced to watch on the side. He could never ask to be trained, though he knew what the answer would be. No, these are clan techniques, Naruto. He asked himself why that was the case, why they got special training. He asked the question out loud once and only once, and has regretted it ever since. Because they're special. He was answered bluntly. Ever since he asked that question, he's never asked for training. Not that he would get it, he wouldn't even try, especially after he heard his so-called godfather deliver some important news to his so-called parents. Flashback 1 year ago. A 5-year-old Naruto was heading to his father's study. He was going to try and ask his father to teach him anything again. When he arrived to the door, he heard 2 voices. His father and the pervert. Did the toads tell you? Minato asked. They spoke of an odd prophecy. Jiraiya stated. Let's hear it. Kushina stated. They tell of one sired by the whirlpool and the light. He motioned to the couple. The child shall have and more than it truly is. He continued. Of the power not its own shall it bring either a new dawn or dusk. Not that hard to interpret. Kushina stated. One of our child shall use a power not its own. Minato continued. But the last part worries me. Jiraiya states. If the child turns evil, it'll destroy Konoha. It's Mito. Minato stated. How do you know that? Kushina asks. The Kyuubi's power isn't hers. He answered, and I already know the perfect solution for the last part. That is, Nawaki. The Hokage answers. With his chakra chains, he can suppress the fox. He added as an afterthought with Naruto the way he is she'll feel the need to protect him. The adults molded it over in their heads for a few moments. They had to admit it was a decent plan, flaws could be fixed later, good plan. Kushina stated. We should increase their training. What about Naruto? Jiraiya asks. I'll take care of that myself. Minato stated as Kushina placed a hand on his shoulder. We can't waste time on a lost cause. The distraught Naruto had heard every word. So that's it? He thought sadly. A lost cause. He now knew that his parents wouldn't even try to help him. I guess I am a lost cause, compared to them at least. Mito was the holder of the Kyuubi, that made her potential near limitless. Nawaki was caught chewing on his chakra chains that proved the Uzumaki blood was strong in him. He silently went to his room. As Minato had said, he had taken care of it. He had did it in a way that no one would have ever assumed. It had been the biggest act of betrayal Naruto had ever felt. It was only a day after Jiraiya had spoke of the prophecy. Hey Naruto-kun. His father called, let's go get some ramen. Naruto had been both surprised and confused when Minato called him. After he had heard about the prophecy he had assumed that his father hadn't loved him. Maybe I was wrong, he thought. Why yeah, he answered excitedly. They had walked to Ichiraku's, Naruto's favorite place. They had ate in silence for most of the time. Naruto didn't care. He was just glad that he was with his dad. Naruto. His father spoke suddenly. Yes? You love the family, right? Minato asked in a strange tone. You'd do anything for it, right? Yes. Naruto answered. Naruto honestly did love his family. It was small, not really fit to be called a clan, but they were still family. You know your little siblings are destined for great things, right? Minato asked in the same tone that they'll need all of our attention. Now Naruto understood where the conversation was going. This is how he tells me that I'm worthless. Naruto thought sadly. Yes, Dad. Naruto spoke near tears. I know about the prophecy. You heard that? Minato asked before cheering up. Good, that makes it easier to explain. He looked down at the sad Naruto. Are you finished with your ramen? Naruto looked at his half-eaten sixth bowl. The wondrous flavor had turned bitter in his mouth. Yes, he answered. Come on. Minato urged. Let's take you home. Minato stood and began walking off with Naruto following. Wait, Dad. Naruto called. That's the wrong way. He called, pointing in the opposite direction. The compound is the other way. Come along, Naruto. Minato spoke in the strange tone again. Naruto followed silently. When they finally came to a stop, it was in front of a large compound. There was Tsunade Senju, his grandmother, sitting alone. The legendary lady approached them and gave Naruto a quick glance before turning toward the Hokage. Are you sure about this? She asked the Hokage. Yes. Minato answered. Come along now. The lady spoke. What? Naruto was confused. You haven't told him? Tsunade asked. No. Minato stated. He'll figure it out. What's going on? Naruto asked, terrified. Naruto-kun, the elder spoke sadly. You're going to be living with me now. She seemed nervous. I welcome you to the Senju compound, your new home. Realization dawned on Naruto. He did the only thing a child could do, he cried. Don't make this any harder, Naruto. Minato ordered. It's for the best of the clan. How? Tsunade asked, only to be silenced by a glare. When they looked back to Naruto, he was gone. Naruto had run as fast as he could. He had to get there. Mom will save me, he thought with hope. Mothers had a different bond with their children. They do spend 9 months together. The clan compound. He had added a little chakra to the door like he had been taught. Nothing happened. It didn't open like it was supposed to. He began banging on the door and shouting at the top his lungs. MOM, help MOM. He shouted. A small crowd began to form, but no one acted. Eventually the doors opened. There stood Kushina with his siblings on either side of her arms. Can I help you? Kushina asked calmly. MOM, Dad is trying to get rid of me. He shouted help. What Naruto was expecting was consolation and love. What he got was a firm smack to the face. Naruto-san. She spoke in a cold tone. You're disrupting my family. Please be gone. And Mom? Naruto asked in fear. You heard her. A voice spoke. Naruto turned and saw Minato standing behind him with Tsunade. No, Naruto whispered in despair. Come along, Naruto-kun. Tsunade spoke, tears still in her eyes. Mom, where is Naruto-kun going? Mito asked, confused. Is he in trouble? Naruto thought quickly. He couldn't have his sister sad. I was acting stupid. Naruto spoke hastily. I'm being grounded to Grandma's home. Oh, when will you be back? Nawaki asked. I don't know. Naruto answered. Probably never. The fight finally left Naruto. He made his way to Tsunade's side. They made a sad walk back to the Senju compound. That night, Naruto cried into Tsunade's shoulder for hours. If only I was as special. He cried to himself. You are special. Tsunade spoke firmly. Don't let anyone tell you different. Present time. That was why he watched in contempt from a distance. He couldn't come any closer than this thanks to security. The seals Minato had added kept him out, seals that blocked all but family signatures, which he was not. The entire village just treated him as a ghost after that. Apparently no one wanted to be associated with the outcast. Especially if it would earn the ire of their Hokage. That meant no friends or family for Naruto. The worst part, worse than his own loneliness, was the secrecy. Naruto was forbidden to tell either of the twins of the truth. They weren't allowed to know of what their parents did. They had to think that the lie Naruto made was the truth. A law was made to enforce it, and if broken, the punishment was death. After all, the Hokage couldn't lose face with his own kids, could he? That meant he could only watch over them and protect them from a distance. He didn't blame his siblings in the slightest. How could he? They didn't decide on how they would be born. He himself admitted that they were special, more than him at least. His hate-filled glares were aimed directly toward his former parents. He hated his parents for their action. Actually, he hated his parents for their lack of actions, not that they cared. It was that reason that he swore to himself that he would become the most special. Naruto had just finished his routine guard duty. It wasn't the village he was watching over. For the last few years Naruto would watch over his siblings. He could only stay for a certain period of time before he was forcibly removed. Now he was heading to a place he loved, the library. Naruto loved to read about the shinobi of the world. Especially the Nuke Nin, they always had something that made them special. From hidden jutsus to powerful weapons and even bloodlines, such as the puppet master Sasori of the Red Sand, who became a human puppet. Then there's the 7 swordsmen of the mist and their weapons. Of all of these ninja, his favorite is the former Konoha Nin, Hiriko, and his Chimera technique. But he doesn't just go there for the fun of it. He goes to get better in a certain field, Fuinjutsu. If anyone were to pay attention to him, they would notice he was a prodigy in the arts. He took pride that it was all him, not from the Uzumaki blood or Minato, him. We now find Naruto training his body harder than an 8-year-old should. He was bringing his body to the peak of its capabilities and beyond. It was truly both a horrible and wondrous sight. However, no matter how much he trained himself, no matter how hard he pushed himself, he was just a boy. There were limits to how far he could take his body. It's no use, he thought bitterly. It didn't help that he had no one to train him. Since he was banished, he was forbidden to use any of the Namikaze or Uzumaki techniques. Not that he knew any. He felt bittersweet when Minato felt his pain. He remembers it like it was yesterday. Flashback. Tsunade had burst into the room where Naruto had just spent the last 2 days. He had kept completely to himself in that time, simply waiting for anything. Naruto! She shouted at the top of her lungs. Grandma! He replied, shocked. Come on, brat. She called, we need to get you out of this funk. But I was kicked out. He responded, his moment of surprise leaving him. You were kicked out of that house. She agreed with a sneer, but not the home. Your home is with me. What about Grandpa? Naruto asked, knowing Jiraiya sided with Minato. He saw the sad look cross her face before she hid it, just not very well. That pervert won't be staying with us. She spoke with conviction. My home is only for the Senju line, us. But Minato took away my name. He refused to call him father. Tsunade wasn't the least bit shocked at his refusal to say dad. He took away the Uzumaki Namikaze name. Tsunade stated, but only I can take away the Senju name. She gave him a fierce smirk. I can also give it to who find worthy. She hesitantly placed her famous necklace around his neck. I find you worthy to be the heir to the Senju line. Naruto quickly caught on to her hints. She had taken the Senju name from Minato and bestowed it onto him. Why wouldn't she? It was in his blood after all. Flashback end. After Naruto regained the energy to walk, he went to eat. As he did, another presence made itself known, by wrapping its hands around his eyes. Hello, Mikoto. Naruto greeted. Ah. She pouted as she released him. How do you always know it's me? Other than Grandma, you're one of the only people I have contact with. Naruto answered. Sad but true. Mikoto mentally agreed. In the entire village, Naruto only had a few people he cared for and cared back. They were his few, but truly precious people. After Naruto had been exiled from his clan, Mikoto cut her ties with the Uzumaki/Namikaze heads. She wouldn't place any blame on the children and accepted them whenever they crossed paths. How about we get some ramen to cheer up? Mikoto offered. Naruto's stomach answered for him. Hello, I am Chan, Naruto greeted. The Ichiraku were one of the few people that didn't treat Naruto any special way. They didn't care that he was an outcast or for his genes. He came as a customer and became their friend. 5 bowls later and Naruto was back to his old self again. Mikoto and Naruto began to talk about their everyday things, such as his fixation with becoming special for his plans. She had humored him for a long while. She even told him many things about her own bloodline that fascinated him. How some Uchiha had an Sharingan ability unique to them. He loved her telling of the most powerful Uchiha ever born, Madara. A shinobi of such power that he went toe-to-toe with another of Naruto's favorite, his grandfather Hashirama Senju. Hello, Mikoto-chan. An energetic voice called. How are you? The two turned to Kushina and the rest of the Namikaze family. This included Jiraiya and their honorary member Kakashi. Hello, Namikaze-sama, I am well. Mikoto greeted distantly. I was just finishing a bowl of ramen. As the two prepared to leave, Kushina stopped them. Well, she stopped Mikoto. Wait, how about we catch up? Kushina offered. We never talk like we used to. I wonder why. Mikoto retorted while glancing at Naruto. This didn't go unnoticed by anyone. Tension began to rise. Civilians and shinobi alike were both afraid and nosy for more to happen. I had no choice. Kushina stated. They need our full attention. This is bigger than you can understand. She wanted her friend to understand I need my clan to thrive if it's going to be brought back, and the Waki has stronger Uzumaki blood in him. So only a redhead can bring back your clan? Mikoto asked. Or is it that you want them to carry your chains? Mikoto knew perfectly well what they were planning. Naruto had informed her himself. For a child, he had deduction skills worthy of a seasoned shinobi. Kushina wanted the Uzumaki clan restored, for that she needed a male heir. With the unique chakra chain passed through Nawaki, it would make the clan greater. Then there was Mito. Being a Jinchuriki, she was destined to be a powerful tool for the village. There were hints that she was the child of prophecy that made her even more valuable. What did Naruto have compared to that? He would be an embarrassment. Mikoto was ashamed to see how far her friend had fallen. I see we'll never see eye to eye. Kushina stated too bad. She looked at the Uchiha with sad eyes. Goodbye Mikoto, I'm going to miss you. As the two left, they couldn't help but feel suspicion. Kushina was known for rarely giving up on anything or anyone, plus her goodbye. He thought. It seemed so final. His thoughts were stopped by Minato. Naruto-san, is it safe to say you will be with the Uchihas tonight? Why does he care? Yes, is that a problem, Hokage-sama? No, no problem at all. The Hokage stated happily, a little too happily. Mom, when is Naruto coming home? Mito asked, pointing to Naruto. The twins may not know what was happening, but they were sure of one thing. Something was going on around them that they were not informed of. Being as young as they were, their memories weren't able to process who he was. Their hearts were different. It told them that he was someone close. Not now, sweetie. Minato answered, eat your ramen. More than anything, Naruto wanted to run back to his sister. To tell Mito and Nawaki the truth. As much as it broke his heart, he continued forward. Maybe I should get back to training. It always helped clear his mind. As his mind wandered down memory lane, his body collapsed. It had finally come to its inevitable end. It's not enough. He thought bitterly, it's nowhere near close to enough. As he raged to himself about being weak, he never noticed his guests watching from a distance. Yes, he's the one. A smooth voice spoke. So full of hate. A creature watched Naruto from a distance. It had been summoned by Naruto, more specifically, by his negative emotions. As the blonde began to break his back, he lost himself to his emotions. He wanted to burn out all of the grief and anger they caused him. Hello, child. The blonde whipped himself around toward the voice. With his emotions running so high, he never noticed his guest. It was a very pale man. He had a slender body, but for some reason Naruto thought of a snake. Actually, the man looked as if he wasn't doing too well. He looked tired. As if the life in him was being sucked away somehow. Who are you? Naruto asked in weary. What do you want? He wasn't being rude, that was just how things were for him. People would try and get him to agree to a marriage contract, or convince him to unofficially join their clan. I want you. He spoke in an echo-like voice. I want your hate. How's that now? Naruto asked, confused. And who are you? My name is Zero. The pale man answered, moving closer. The one called Zero had to admit he was impressed with the boy. Even when abandoned, he strives to get stronger for his goal. He will make a great asset to my plans. I have an offer for you, Naruto. The man spoke, one that would benefit us both. How? Naruto asked, moving backwards. I can see inside of you. I can see your hate. He spoke smoothly. I know you hate your parents. Anyone could have told you that. Naruto retorted. Yes, but I also know you love your siblings. Zero stated. Quicker than Zero expected, the blonde pulled out a kunai. Are you threatening them? The blonde didn't know if he could beat the mysterious person, but he'd be damned if he didn't try to defend his siblings. No, they are why I offer you the chance to become what you always wanted. Zero continued, ignoring the blade. Imagine the power you always wanted, power to keep them safe and get your revenge. The offer was tempting, very tempting. He had heard about the snake's exploits and knew that he was capable of keeping his word. That's a good offer. Naruto, you made one mistake. Oh, and what would that be? Zero asked, intrigued. I don't want revenge. He admitted. This statement caused Zero to stop in his tracks. Honestly, it was the farthest thing from his mind. If anything, he just wanted recognition. That didn't mean he wouldn't allow Minato to suffer if the opportunity ever arrived. Then I'll have to make you succumb to your hate. Zero stated as he began to moving again. You'll be given power you could only dream of. What do you want? Naruto growled. No one offers that kind of thing without wanting something in return. The stronger you are, the stronger you'll want to be. The man stated. You'll give in to me for power, one way or another. Especially for your siblings. So that's your game. Naruto realized. He's trying to anchor me down with greed. With the way Minato and Kushina were raising the twins, they were bound to be loyal. In which case Naruto would need to be strong for the sake of protecting them. Remember this. Zero spoke. When you want more power, I'll be there. Snap. Naruto turned towards the sound only to find nothing. When he turned his head back, everything went black. Zero looked down at the boy in greed. He will do just fine. With this, the thing could put its own plans into action, the completion of its true self. The man called Zero began to convulse in an awkward manner. The man's body began to glow with black chakra that carried an evil aura. The energy then began to pull from the man. The power began taking form, the form of a giant snake-like creature. It was purple in color and larger than any snake alive, minus a summons. As a head, there was a simple no mask with a kanji in it, 0. The creature took a final glance at its former host. A weak-willed man that had outlived his usefulness to the creature. His body died in the process of having the demon leave him. His mind had been gone since the demon entered him. Pathetic. It thought. It turned to its new prize, its new host. It became the dark aura once again and made its way into the boy. As it did, it began latching on to the negative emotions, as if feeding on it. Yes, there was a lot of negative emotions in the boy, more than expected of a child. But there was something else, something Zero hadn't been expecting. Not in a boy who had been turned away at such a young age by the ones who he cared for. Better make that two things. No, hope of a brighter future, and an indomitable will. When Naruto awoke, it was the child who was in control, not the parasite. An energetic Naruto walked through Konoha with a spring in his step no one had seen in him. He felt more energetic than ever before. He could feel the power working inside of him. After he had awakened, he was shocked from the entire aftermath. The man who had called himself Zero was dead. There hadn't even been a visible wound on him. Naruto did the wise thing and ran. I just wish the weirdo told me what he did. Though the thought made him angry, it gave the blonde even more energy. For some reason, getting angry made him feel better. His destination, the Uchiha district, where he would be with some of his precious people. When Naruto arrived to the district, he stopped. The blonde knew something was wrong immediately. It was too quiet. Sure, it was late, but for it to be completely deserted was unheard of. Naruto headed straight for Mikoto's home. The blonde opened the door, and hell was revealed. Naruto looked around the dead bodies of the Uchihas laying around. There were two things that caught his attention even better than a room full of dead bodies. One living person about to kill the last, barely, living person. Naruto stared in fear, and as Itachi stood over Mikoto, the matriarch was the first to notice his presence. With the last of her energy, she cried one word to the blonde. Run! This drew Itachi's attention. Oh, you're here, Naruto. Itachi spoke calmly. That'll make my job easier. Naruto was confused at the statement. It was obvious as to what the Uchiha prodigy was implying, but he couldn't figure out why. Itachi had always been as kind to him as Mikoto. The opposite of Fugaku and Sasuke, who only believed in the Uchiha power, Naruto had only one question. Why? The stoic Uchiha paused as if considering the answer. To test myself. He answered, bullshit. Naruto shouted, you aren't like that bastard father of yours. You actually care for others and hate violence. He motioned towards the bodies strewn around. The Itachi I know would never do something like this. Itachi stared at the boy in front of him. Outside of his shock at the truth and hate the kid spoke, he was impressed. He looked down toward his mother. With a simple glance into her eyes, he knocked her out. He turned his attention back to the blonde. I'm following orders. Itachi admitted. Whose orders? The blonde asked. Who has enough political power to order the death of an entire clan? Itachi asked who would want you dead, would know where you would be tonight? Naruto paled as realization dawned on him. Minato had ordered his death. I see you understand. Itachi spoke. You know I have my orders and can't let you leave. The terrified blonde took a step back as he faced the Uchiha. He knew he couldn't face him in combat. He didn't have the weapons or skills. He didn't even have the fire of protecting his siblings in him like with Zero. Zero! Naruto thought with a flicker of hope. The power he gave me. He didn't know what to do, but the thought allowed him to stay his ground. A sight Itachi took note of as he advanced. Get angry. The blonde was focusing as hard as he could to do anything. I need power. He begged his body. Maybe there is no power. What if it was all just a lie? Was that man just messing with him, messing with his hopes and dreams? A sick joke made up by a sick-minded man. Maybe thought up by Minato. Or maybe there was power and Minato robbed him of the chance for it. Maybe he killed the Zero before he could do whatever it was. The thought made him angry. I can give it to you. A weak voice spoke. Wa dash! A shocked Naruto exclaimed. The blonde looked around for the source of the voice. Itachi thought he was looking for safety. It took half a second for Naruto to realize the voice came from inside his head. Do you want it? It asked. Yes. He answered both mentally and vocally. Then take it all. He felt it flow through him. Power. It was greater than anything Naruto ever felt, and darker. It also felt as if it wasn't the only thing that was coming. He felt anger rush in along with the power, anger and thoughts not his. Naruto felt as if he weren't the only one in his body, as if something was with him. I don't know what you're planning, Naruto. Itachi spoke calmly, but it all ends here. Their eyes met. Tsukuyami. Everything in the world fell away from Naruto. In place was an endless plain with a red sky. He was in the realm under Itachi's control. Naruto knew what the technique was, trouble. It was something Mikoto spoke of when entertaining Naruto on her family's bloodline. The look on Itachi's face was one not seen in years. Shock. This surprised Naruto. He had always known the Uchiha to be calm whenever the situation called for it. Turning around, he found out why. There was something else in the genjutsu with them. It was as large as a person and as long as a summons with a purplish color. At the front was a gnome mask as a face with 5 thick, red-like strands of hair. The creature gave off the aura of darkness. What caught Naruto's attention was the kanji on its mask. Zero. What are you? Itachi asked. I am the darkness of mankind. It answered, shocking the humans. I am the Zero Tails. You're the one from one earlier. Naruto stated, the one who offered me power. Yes. It answered. What's going on, Naruto? Itachi asked. Why is this thing inside of you? He harbors great hate. It answered. You have negative emotions as well, give it to me. The creature gave no warning as tendrils pierced through the Uchiha. Impossible. Itachi thought frantically, I should have complete control. But he wasn't. Itachi couldn't move, it was holding him firmly in place. He tried to dispel the genjutsu but found he had no control. He was trapped in his very own technique. It took only a second for the Uchiha to realize he was being drained. Not just of chakra, he was also losing emotional energy. He was feeling horrible, as if his heart was being crushed in darkness. As Itachi began to feel himself be drained, Naruto felt the opposite. He felt the renewed energy flow into him and away from Itachi. Surrender, Uchiha, or else. Naruto spoke coldly, feeling the power course through him. No. Zero spoke, we drain him dry. When Itachi heard that, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, fear. It was something that washed over him in waves as the realization dawned on him. The Zero Tails took great delight in Itachi's predicament. Fear made most people irrational, but Itachi wasn't most people. He had spent most of his life in dangerous situations. This wasn't that different. He used the last bit of control he had. Naruto? A innocent voice called. What's going on? Naruto turned his attention to the source of the voice. It was the two people Naruto cared for above all else, his brother and sister. They brought a feeling to Naruto that the Zero Tails couldn't stand. It was a creature of pure negative emotions. Things such as hate, fear, and despair both fed and drove it. Emotions such as love, courage, and hope was its very bane. They were exactly what Naruto was feeling as he looked at his siblings. No! With a cry of defiance, it lunged toward the Uchiha. Just as the genjutsu world broke away. Itachi? A voice spoke. What happened? Itachi looked around. He was free of the genjutsu. He looked towards his savior, and saw the devil made human. It was a man wearing a flame-patterned mask and a single eye hole. A man who called himself Madara Uchiha. Itachi had many doubts to the claim, but had been forced to submit to the claim. I was caught by surprise. Itachi answered as calmly as he could. The man named Madara eyed him for a moment before turning towards Naruto. The blonde had simply stood there with a vacant look on his face. Naruto began secreting a transparent, purple aura as well as black chakra. The aura began forming the snake-like being of the Zero Tails. Ah, the zero-tailed leech demon, the false-tailed beast. The masked man spoke. Begone. You are darkness. The demon spoke. More tendrils, just like the ones used on Itachi, flew towards the Sharingan user. They pierced several parts of his body and latched to him. Itachi hid his shock of the tendrils connecting with the other Uchiha. I said begone. Madara spoke as he narrowed his eye. Zero didn't know what compelled his to obey, but some invisible force did. The demon made its way back into his young host. Wordlessly the boy collapsed into a heap. Madara drew a kunai. What are you doing? Itachi asked. Ending it. Wait. He spoke uncharacteristically. Itachi didn't know what, but something compelled him to try and stop the other Uchiha. He didn't know what, but he knew exactly why. The possessed boy had been able to do something he doubted he ever would. He hurt the masked man. Maybe we should let him live. Itachi spoke after composing himself for the plan. Who knows, this Zero Tails could be of use. Madara knew exactly what Itachi was scheming. He wouldn't admit it, but the blonde child made him nervous. When the Zero Tails had pierced him, he felt a part of himself be pulled away. As if it had been ripped away and placed somewhere else. He had a feeling as to where. Fine. He decided to play along for the time being. The woman? She's of no threat. Itachi spoke, hoping to save her. Fine. With a bow, Itachi disappeared in a body flicker. A minute later Madara heard a scream he was sure came from Sasuke. Madara just seemed to fade from reality, making sure to give a final glare to the blonde. When Naruto woke up, he found out he had been asleep for a whole day and a half due to chakra exhaustion. It was thanks to the Uzumaki vitality that he was no longer bedridden. Thankfully Tsunade had been watching over him and Mikoto in that time. They saw past the old rivalry their clans had because of their affection towards Naruto. How are you feeling? Tsunade asked for the nth time. I'm fine, Grandma. Naruto stated, can I leave now? He hated hospitals. Truthfully, he was feeling better than fine. When he had awakened, he felt as if he had an extra weight in him. It was in a positive way, like the weight was what he needed. He just didn't know what the weight was. You just survived a massacre, and you're telling me you're fine. Tsunade screamed, you aren't leaving until I've run every test I can. Naruto gave a depressed sigh. Being the head of the hospital meant she could run every test. Don't you want to go see Mikoto-chan? She asked, hoping to cheer him up. Has she awakened yet? He asked, only for Tsunade to shake her head. Then no, I don't want to see her like that. I understand. As a medic, she had come to understand the sympathy of patients. There are many things he wanted to take care of. Unfortunately, his grandmother's watchful eyes forced him to do something drastic. He crept out of the hospital. Senju clan vault. Naruto stared at the array of scrolls in front of him. There were hundreds. He felt a childlike giddiness he hadn't felt in ages. He was on his way to unraveling a mystery. Naruto hadn't been entirely unconscious during the Zero Tails' possession. He had heard a few lines that caught his attention. Ah, the Zero Tails, the false-tailed beast. Well, I'd better get started. Naruto thought I won't get any answers just staring. Like a kid in the candy store or Uzumaki at a ramen shop, Naruto dived in. Scroll after scroll, he tore through them as if he was sure they would vanish if he didn't get to them. He wasn't able to find much on the tailed beast at the moment because of his low scroll supply on them. What he did find, he memorized them for later use. Hello, Naruto. A voice he hated spoke. Naruto turned to see Minato watching him and the scrolls with a cryptic eye. Those scrolls are pretty advanced. Minato asked, what are you doing here? I know. Naruto spoke with no emotion. I could ask you the same thing. Minato had been banned from the Senju scrolls after his neglect. Now that Naruto was the heir, they belonged to him. Do you need something, Hokage-sama? Naruto asked in monotone. I came to see how you were faring after the massacre. Minato answered without missing a beat. I know how much you cared for the Uchihas. It's a tragedy. Naruto stated as anger began to build, not something I'd assume Itachi to be capable of. How did you escape Itachi? The Hokage asked. There was no way Naruto was going to tell the truth. He hadn't even told Tsunade yet. I don't know. He half admitted, I guess I just got lucky. It's not like Itachi to leave a job unfinished. The fourth spoke as he took a step forward, causing the younger blonde to take one back. Minato began reaching into his pocket for, hello, Minato. A voice called, catching their attention. Minato turned around and removed his hand. Hello, mother. He greeted. I was just leaving. Tsunade spoke, cutting him off before turning to Naruto. Mikoto's awake. Want to see her? Yes. Naruto quickly answered. Later, Mom. Naruto. Minato called as he turned his attention to Naruto's scroll. Interesting topic. The youngest blonde managed to catch the comment just as he was pulled away in a body flicker by Tsunade. When they arrived in the hospital, Mikoto was awake and waiting. Cautiously, Naruto, how are you feeling? Better. Mikoto stated after a minute. Naruto, are they all gone? Only you, Satsuki, and Sasuke are left. Naruto answered. Mikoto took this in as best as could be expected. Her oldest child had just killed her clan but left her and her twin children alive. What did Itachi say? Naruto thought of not telling, but she had a right to know. So he told her what Itachi told him, and she came to the same conclusion. The blonde watched as Mikoto came close to tears. They never had the chance to fall before someone entered the room. Mikoto-chan. Kushina shouted with her kids in tow. And Mikoto! The twins cried as they hugged the Uchiha. How are you feeling, Mikoto? Kushina asked sweetly, too sweetly. The remaining female Uchiha looked at the redhead with so much hate that everyone flinched. How am I feeling? Mikoto repeated. How am I feeling? Mick, your husband just ordered the execution of my entire clan. Mikoto hissed. From my own son, no less. A gasp of shock could be heard from the twins as they heard this. The look on Kushina's face went straight to a neutral glare. You shouldn't make such accusations. Kushina whispered, especially when you no longer have an political power to back anything up. What do you mean? Mikoto asked. I am the matriarch of the now dead Uchiha clan. Kushina stated venomously. 3 members do not make a clan. I seem to recall you being the last members of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto spoke, drawing their attention. You and Minato of the Namikaze clan seem to be doing well for the most part. Kushina looked ready to retort when Mito cried out. Stop it! Everyone turned toward the container. Stop it, Mito. Daddy wouldn't order the death of an entire clan. She stated. He's a kind Hokage. He was willing to kick his own son out of the clan. Mikoto stated. Why wouldn't he be able to kill others? What? Mito looked at her brother for answers. You said he sent you away for punishment. What kind of punishment lasts for 2 years? Mikoto asks. And needs a person to change their name? Mito, he stuck his hand out to comfort her. She smacked the limb away. No, I don't believe you. The distraught little redhead ran out the door. She needed to get away from all this. Naruto wanted to go after her but felt he would only do more harm than good. Do you see what you've done? Kushina roared. Consider it the beginning. Mikoto stated vaguely. Mito couldn't take all of the emotional turmoil at once. She was only 8. Why did he lie to me? She asked herself. Why would Daddy do something like that? None of it made any sense to her. Her father was a loving man and righteous leader. Why would he banish his own son from the clan? Why would he have an entire clan executed? That wasn't the person who raised her. She just wanted the pain in her heart to stop. Hate them. A dark voice spoke. Mito knew this was bad. The QB only talked when her anger was high enough to manipulate, like now. Calm down, Mito. She just needed to calm down and think happy thoughts. Like ramen, destroy them. The problem was happy thoughts wouldn't cut it today. With the feeling of anger and betrayal hanging on to her, anger seemed like the lesser evil. Do you want the pain to stop? The question was enough to distract Mito, enough to give QB an opening. Suddenly Mito cried out. She was in pain, as if her insides were burning away. Each wave of heat brought a wave of anger, constantly building anger and power. As the fire washed through her, she began to lose herself. Everything was becoming a blurry annoyance. She just wanted to get rid of it all. She wanted to destroy everything. Mito! Naruto gasped. The two kunoichi had finally stopped their arguments at Naruto's comment. It seemed they felt the presence of it just as much as him. Naruto stood up and made a mad dash for the door. He was stopped by a chakra chain holding him in place. He looked to see his mother was the one holding him. Where do you think you're going? Kushina asked. I'm going to help my sister, he stated. He tried to free himself, but she held him firmly. What can you do? She asked. You'd only be in the way. Naruto said nothing in reply to her comment, but he did stop struggling. A black and powerful aura began. Dark chakra? The matriarch's thought shocked. The chains holding Naruto began to loosen on Naruto before falling limply to the ground. I'm going to help my sister, Naruto repeated without looking back. Interesting, Kushina thought. Naruto arrived on the scene in a matter of minutes and paled. His mother and brother arrived behind him with the same reaction. Mito Uzumaki Namikaze was losing control. She was already growing a second tail. She seemed to be doing her best at controlling herself, but she was slowly slipping. Already the Kyuubi's powerful tail was whipping around, causing devastation. And no, she's not ready, Kushina thought desperately. They had never made it past the initial stage in her training. Mito, you need to calm down, Kushina shouted. Remember your training. If Kushina's words made it through to the demonic child, she didn't show it. All she did was move around in a blind rage. No choice, she grumbled before turning to her son. Nawaki, just like we practiced. Why yes ma'am. As when they shot out a volley of golden chakra chains. They grabbed the Kyuubi-induced Mito and held her in place. Kyuubi knew what these chains were from experience, and didn't like them. The demon began pushing more chakra into the girl, forcing her to fight back. Mom, I can't hold it, Nawaki shouted. No sooner had he said that did his chains retract. Nawaki had never trained in restraining Mito past her initial state. Even then he was just barely able to hold her. Kushina grimaced as she looked at her children, one losing control and the other too weak to help. Then again, she doubted she could hold the beast controlling her daughter for long. Damn it! She cut the connection and allowed the possessed child to continue the rampage. What do I do? Naruto looked around frantically. Such anger. A demonic voice spoke. Where have you been? Naruto asked. I was forced away, Zero answered. That was the only way to describe the effect of those eyes. The leech had let out a small chuckle at the thought. Those eyes were dark. Zero admitted that even after what had happened, he liked those eyes. That was why he took them. Help me, Naruto begged. No, Zero answered. Before he could make a statement, a flash of yellow caught his attention. Looking to the source, he saw his father standing on a roof. Naruto actually let out a sigh of relief as he waited for Minato to stop Mito. As much as he hated the man, he knew he was Mito's only hope. That was until Kushina joined his side. Naruto saw her whisper something into his ear. Their eyes met. Minato took a step back and smirked as Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief. The demon had refused to help him save one of his few precious people. He could at least understand that. It was his nature. The fact that Minato wasn't going to help his own daughter, that made him angry. That made Zero happy. Use it, Zero commanded. Naruto didn't know what the demon was talking about but obeyed. Just like the last time, he felt as if he weren't the only one in his body. This time he knew he wasn't. He didn't put up any resistance as he was guided through a needed series of hand signs and spoke the words he only read about. Dark style, dark dragon. A small dragon made of shadows the size of a horse pulled itself from the ground. It was an Eastern Chinese type with a trunk-like nose. Tsunade had told Naruto tales of her grandfather summoning a wooden one the size of Kyuubi. It was capable of draining chakra, and that was exactly what he needed. He hoped that this one made of dragon was capable of the same. It had always been a favorite story of Naruto's. I am possible, he heard his mother gasp. It's what brought him back to reality. It seemed Kyuubi was familiar with this technique because it quickly attacked. Naruto didn't know how to control the wooden dragon, but it did react. It latched itself around the demonic Mito as she attacked and began to drain the foul chakra. Naruto was actually losing chakra as well by trying to maintain the dragon. The Kyuubi, however, could keep pushing its demonic chakra into Mito, just as it was doing. Need more power, Naruto shouted. Whether it was out of kindness or some devious plot, Zero gave Naruto chakra. It was so foul that it drew the Kyuubi Mito's attention from the dragon. Their eyes met. Naruto's eyes began to ache before darkness began to fill them. His eyes continued to change until they were as black as a void. They changed even further. A single red dot formed in each eye as they glared at the Kyuubi. Before Naruto knew it, he was on another plane. Naruto looked around and saw that he was inside Mito. In front of him was a large cell that held the source of his current problem, Kyuubi. The fox looked down at the boy and gave a glare that could kill a man. However, the glare simply brushed past Naruto as he looked for Mito. He saw her wrapped in the Kyuubi's chakra. It seemed that she was actually in pain as it covered her. Who are you? The fox asked. Naruto paid the fox no mind as he made his way to his sister. Without a second thought, he grabbed her and pulled her into a hug. This surprised the fox. Its chakra should have turned the child into ashes, yet here he stood. How can you touch my chakra? The fox asked in outrage. Kyuubi, Naruto spoke, never taking his eyes of Mito. If you ever do anything like that to harm my sister, I am immortal and more powerful than you could hope to be, Kyuubi stated smugly. What can you do, human? Simple. Naruto finally turned his attention to Kyuubi with a look that sent the demon fox a step back. I'll seal your power away and then kill you over and over again. The fox felt something no being has ever caused it, fear. He had the feeling that the child would actually follow through with the threat. The fear was soon replaced by anger. A human, a child, had dared to threaten the nine-tailed fox demon. A being of rage and hate incarnate. None had dared that since. Fourth. The fox understood now. The boy was that man's child, that meant his mother was her. The fox let out a roar full of its chakra, hoping to kill the child. Instead, Naruto's dark chakra flared, creating an aura of the Zero Tails. Hello, fox. Zero spoke. You. Kyuubi roared. We'll be leaving. Zero spoke as soon as I take something. A single tendril lodged itself into Kyuubi and drew its chakra. Before anything could be said or done, Zero removed it and Naruto's mind went blank, only to awaken back in reality. Naruto looked down. In his arms was an unconscious Mito. Around him was a crowd of both civilians and shinobi looking at him in wonder. In the front was his so-called family. That's my boy. Minato shouted, gaining a cheer from the crowd. What's he planning? Naruto thought. Before he could try to figure it out, or even deny the accusation, Naruto fainted. When Naruto woke up, he was inside his room in the Senju compound. At his door he could hear yelling. I don't care if you're the Hokage. Tsunade shouted, you aren't taking him away. He's our son. Kushina shouted. Wrong. Tsunade spoke, when you two exiled him from your clans you gave up all rights to him. I took him in and gave him part of his heritage back. The argument went back and forth. As Naruto listened he began to feel another presence in the room. Looking around he saw that Mito was sleeping beside him. She looks so peaceful, I hope she's okay. He thought, she is unharmed. The Zero Tails spoke as it partially manifested itself. What's going on? Naruto asked. They know you're special now. Zero spoke, in his head they want it. Special? Naruto asked. Like you always wanted. Zero commented, you were given the power of darkness, my power. Naruto looked at the leech demon. Something seemed off. It wasn't acting as shady as it once was. What do you want? Naruto asked. Why are you different? To be complete. It answered. We are already on the right track. How? It seemed fully healed to him. What do you want? Zero asked in return. You have power that makes you special, but there's something else. What do I want? Naruto asked. He had what he wanted from the start, but where does he go from here? He looked at Mito. Zero looked at the fox container. Being near her makes the darkness in you brighten. She's my little sister. Naruto answered, the most precious of my few people, precious people. She is in danger. Zero spoke. What? Naruto asked. Zero didn't explain, at least not in the conventional way. A single tendril shot from his body and pierced Naruto's head and mind. Then he saw it. From both the Zero's mind and the masked man, Naruto saw all of it. The Rikudo Sannin, the moon, Madara Uchiha, Akatsuki, the tailed beast, Jubi. When Zero removed the tendril, Naruto fell to the ground. Now I understand. He thought. The Zero Tails wasn't a true tailed beast, it was the consciousness of the Jubi. While the Geto Mazo held the body of the Jubi, Zero held the mind. Its purpose was to collect the essence of the tailed beasts and recreate the Jubi. But an organization called Akatsuki was in the way. They too wanted to recreate the Jubi, but they wanted it for a different purpose, to control it. Naruto looked at his little sister. She was in danger of Akatsuki. I have to protect her. He thought. To save her he needed help. He looked at the Zero Tails. It had a purpose, but it couldn't do it alone. It needed a host to sustain itself. It had already started the process with the Kyuubi. Now it had 8 more to go. Naruto realized he knew what his new purpose was. He needed to destroy Akatsuki to keep Mito safe. I help you become whole. He spoke, you help me with my dreams. Deal. It was no longer a parasitic relationship between the two with one benefiting the other. Now it was symbiotic, both mutually benefiting. Naruto looked at the window, then his little sister. Goodbye, Mito. Naruto whispered, I'll be back and we can be a family again. Promise? She asked. Naruto froze, then slowly he relaxed. It seemed that Mito was only talking in her sleep. I promise. He answered. Giving her a single kiss on the cheek, he left into the darkness. Naruto had done it. He had left the village. He just happened to make 3 mistakes. The first, he didn't give those he cared about a proper goodbye. The second, he had absolutely no provisions. The third, he didn't take into account he was just in a room with 2 Kage-level shinobi, both of whom were having an argument with him as the main topic. Of course they would notice him leave. Naruto was running through the forest. With all the training he had, he was able to run long and far. Unfortunately, he didn't have complete ninja training, so he couldn't get too far. It was only thanks to the dark chakra from Zero that he made it to the halfway point of the woods. Naruto! The blonde froze at the voice. What do you think you're doing? Naruto turned and saw his grandmother, Tsunade. How did she find me so fast? Hi, Grandma. Naruto greeted. Don't you hi Grandma me? She snapped. Come on, we're returning to the village. No. Naruto stated. What? I'm not returning. Naruto spoke. Not yet, I'm not ready. Ready for what? Tsunade asked in confusion. To protect Mito and Nawaki, to destroy Minato. Naruto looked at her. The list goes on. You don't have to protect her alone. Tsunade spoke. I'll help you. The two blondes turned their heads to see a redhead making her way to them. That was true, but not all of it was his. As they continued their conversation, they never noticed a second redhead. Nawaki hid behind the tree with all the stealth his parents had taught him. It wasn't much, but he was able to hide from the talking blondes. He listened silently. From what he heard, Naruto had some kind of duty. One of protecting and destroying, all for him and Mito. Nawaki was in a bind of loyalty, duty, and love. The young redhead pulled out one of his father's trikunai. He was told to only use these in an emergency. He also knew that half the village was looking for his brother, his parents included. It was his duty to let them know that he had found Naruto. But Naruto wouldn't try and leave without a reason, right? It was too much for the 8-year-old. He was too different from his siblings. He didn't have the burden/blessing of having a giant chakra demon in his stomach. He wasn't a prodigy that had been thrown away. He was just Nawaki. Just like that, the memories came flooding in. Flashback. Nawaki was looking at his sleeping brother and sister. They had a hell of a day, but now things can get better, he thought happily. Now that Naruto had this dark chakra, his parents were obsessed over him. Naruto could come home. He was special now. He was like them. But that line of thinking brought more thinking. Mom, Dad? He spoke, gaining their attention. Why did you kick Naruto out? They looked uncomfortable for a second before sighing in defeat. The cat was out of the bag. Well, Nawaki, Minato began, he's not like you or your sister. What do you mean? Your sister is the host for the Kyuubi, so she is the village's trump card. Minato spoke, the village's sword and shield. But I'm not like that. Nawaki spoke sullenly. Am I not special? Nawaki, you are important. Kushina spoke firmly, more important than either your brother or sister. Nawaki, you are my firstborn son, my heir. He spoke with pride. When I'm either dead or too old, you will continue my legacy, just as you will continue the legacy of New Whirlpool. Kushina spoke with equal pride. You are my son, you carry my blood. She brought out her chains for emphasis. We are the only two people who are capable of this. With them you will bring about a new age of Uzumaki, a clan with bloodlines added to our heritage. You are to be your sister's keeper. Minato spoke in a firmer tone. It is your duty to be her protector when necessary and if need be, her executioner. What? Nawaki shouted in shock. I can't do that. Nawaki Uzumaki Namikaze. Minato shouted, it is your duty to aid the village. He then calmed when he saw his frightened son. You must remember that you have an obligation. If, God forbid, Mito finally loses control of the Kyuubi, what do you think will happen? Kushina asked. It'll destroy everything. He answered, his memories fresh on the event. It'll hurt people. Exactly, it won't even be your sister anymore. Minato reasoned. Now what will happen if she turns evil? Bad things. Kushina answered. Do you understand, Nawaki? Yes, I understand. Flashback end. Nawaki did understand. He had a duty to the clan and village before his own feeling. He threw the trikunai. Okay, Naruto. Tsunade spoke reluctantly, but please be careful. Even though the blonde had convinced her that he needed to go, she still didn't want him to. After an inner debate, she removed her necklace and placed it around his neck. Naruto turned towards the direction Nawaki was hiding in. He didn't know who was there, but he could feel it. The growing negative emotions, the start, or arrogance, a blur flew in their direction. It was Tsunade who caught the kunai thanks to her experience. Both of the blondes paled when they realized that the kunai was one of Minato's. In a flash, the fourth Hokage appeared. Out from behind the tree, Nawaki made his way out. Minato looked on in happiness as he stared at Nawaki. He and Kushina had their doubts, but now he knew. They had gotten through to Nawaki. 1 down, 2 to go. That's my boy. Naruto and Mito looked at their brother in betrayal. He looked back at them in both pride and contempt. Why? Naruto asked. Because my heir is loyal. Minato answered. Naruto glared at the man before him in understanding. It wasn't Nawaki's fault, it was Minato's. He had brainwashed the boy. What do you want? Naruto asked. I want my son to come home. Minato answered pleasantly. I want us to be a family again. Bull. Shit. Tsunade and Naruto replied. He's as smarter than you think he is. Tsunade snapped. He knows what happened and what's going on. Stop being difficult, Naruto. Minato spoke in a different tone. The tone he used when he abandoned his son. Who else can teach you to use the rabies dark chakra? Naruto froze when he heard those words. How did you know? Naruto asked. No other being has pure dark chakra. Minato answered. With me you can learn to utilize it, to control it. I'm not going to control Zero. Naruto stated. Don't be a fool. Minato snapped. It's a leech demon. A parasite. Either you control it. A second voice spoke, or it takes control of you and kills you. Everyone turned to see Kushina make her way through the woods. Minato must have signaled her before coming. Naruto thought. This was getting bad. Only we can teach you. Minato stated. I have all the notes on your subject. He gave his son a pleasant smile. From the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan. No one else can teach you to utilize it, so come home. Kushina smiled. Come to mommy. I'm not your son. Naruto snapped. We made sure of that. He gave his grandmother a smile. I am Naruto Senju. You need us. Minato growled. No. Naruto spoke. I don't need you or your notes. He couldn't help but smile. I already have a source of information. greater than yours. Enough of this. With a snap of his hand, a large squad of ANBU appeared. You have no claim to him, Minato. Tsunade growled. He is a member of my clan, and not a shinobi of the leaf. It was obvious their Kage wasn't listening. Zero, I need help. Naruto thought frantically. I can get us out of here. It answered. At a cost. Anything. Naruto replied. The knowledge of the event about to happen flowed into his mind. Grandma. Naruto spoke cautiously. Get Mito and Nawaki. Head home, fast. Tsunade didn't know what was happening, but she felt him gather chakra into his body. She grabbed the kids and reverse summoned herself with them. Everyone felt Naruto gather chakra into his was simply more than a child could have, should have, but Naruto did. The chakra was plainly visible to all and frighteningly potent. It consumed everything in a dark pressure, as if it were trying to suck in and crush them. They weren't the only ones to feel it, the very forces of nature did as well. The animals in the forest went silent and into hiding. From the birds flying away to the insects burying themselves into the ground. The trees went still, as if the air itself was preparing. Naruto simply whispered the words, cataclysm. The very earth itself began to shake and split beneath Naruto. The sky darkened as hundreds of lightning bolts struck the ground simultaneously. Between the sky and earth, a dozen tornadoes appeared, pulling and blowing everything away. It came to its conclusion with a mushroom-shaped explosion. The effect of the jutsu could be seen for miles. The once lush area was now just a barren plain. What used to be an area full of life was now as dead as the desert. The jutsu earned its name. Many of the Konoha shinobi were caught in the wide-range destruction. The only ones to escape were his family. Among the wreckage, Naruto couldn't be found. A weary blonde was walking aimlessly around. He knew his destination. He knew he was close. What he didn't know was would he make it. The jutsu had taken both Naruto and the Rabi to their limits. The Rabi more so than him. At least he could move. Zero? He asked for the 100th time. The answer was always the same. Need more hate. It seemed the jutsu drained it of nearly everything. But we're so close. He could feel it, literally. A source of foul emotions gathering around one spot. His destination, his target. He was looking for someone, a person with knowledge. A person with the same views as him. Just with a different path to the same goal. Naruto reasoned. Hello, child. A voice whispered. Naruto turned to the voice, his target. The blonde couldn't keep the smile from his or fear from his heart. Hello? Naruto returned Orochimaru. Gotta love those cliffhangers. The Zero watched its host in action. Once they had entered the Sound Village, it began to revive. The amount of dark emotions there was enough to send the Rabi into a feeding frenzy. If Naruto had been anyone else, he would have gone crazy. But the blonde fought back and kept control. Guess that's why I chose him. Zero thought, impressed. Now that the demon had a constant supply of food, it was stable. More so than it's been in decades, if ever. Naruto stared at the maniac before him. The maniac stared back. Once Naruto had entered the village, the Zero went crazy. It took everything he had to keep it from breaking loose. Now its energy was returning, and so was Naruto's. So what brings you here, Naruto-kun? Orochimaru asked. You have something I want, something I need. Naruto answered. Oh, and what would that be? The snake asked curiously. And what will I get in return? You were once part of an organization called Akatsuki. Naruto stated. From the masked man's memories, they are a problem for both of us. And how would he know that? Orochimaru thought curiously. How are they a problem for you? Orochimaru was no fool. He knew who this child was. The abandoned son of the Uzumaki Namikes. The snake watched as the air around the boy darkened. They're after Mito, my sister. Naruto growled. They'll get her over my dead body. I see, so you want information on them. No and yes. Naruto answered, confusing him. I want your notes on them, their plans and that of the tailed beasts. And why, pray tell, would I give you that kind of information? He asked. You're just a child. He stated as if he cared. And I don't want a group of S-rank rogues coming down on me. Naruto pulled a single tri-kunai, the one Nawaki used to call Minato. What caught Orochimaru's interest was the fact Naruto pulled it out of his shadow. Are you threatening me, boy? Orochimaru hissed. No, the opposite. Naruto smirked as he returned the kunai to the darkness. I'm giving you the chance to crush Minato. I'm listening. This kunai is the source of his power. Naruto stated. Without it, he's just an elite jonin at best. He looked at the snake. You on the other hand are a Kage-level shinobi. Orochimaru understood. Disable the kunai, and Minato's vulnerable. Naruto finished. Orochimaru was starting to like the boy more and more. But he had a reputation to keep. And why shouldn't I just kill you and take the kunai? He asked, letting out a small wave of killer intent. It would be easy. The Ki did nothing to unnerve Naruto, only strengthen him. Because you would have done it already. Orochimaru stopped the intent and smirked. With the snap of a finger, he summoned a nameless shinobi. Bring me everything on Akatsuki. Orochimaru ordered. As well as the tailed beast. Orochimaru would give the blonde the notes, and Naruto would give the snake the kunai. The deal set and done with no bloodshed, something rare with Orochimaru. What's wrong, boy? He asked. Having second thoughts? He was aware of the boy's hesitation after the deal was done. You are skilled in Fuinjutsu, right? Naruto asked. Yes, I have a second deal for you. I'm listening. I want you to make me into a proper host. Naruto spoke in exchange for a later favor. What are you up to, Naruto? Zero asked. Just some insurance. Naruto answered. Proper host? Orochimaru asked. Does this have to do with the tailed beast inside you? Naruto froze. The Rabi correct? How? You don't think a former member of Akatsuki wouldn't notice a host when he saw one? Orochimaru asked. Plus, the incident near Konoha is widely talked about. Can you do it? Naruto asked with hope. Will you? No. Orochimaru answered. Someone as small as you would probably die from the pain alone. He explained. Not to mention. He was silenced when Naruto drew a regular but freshly sharpened kunai. The blonde took the blade and impaled his own hand. The kunai passed through and was sticking out the opposite side. The blonde never shouted out or teared up. He just kept a firm glare on the surprised Orochimaru. The only hint to his pain was the wince in his eyes. Pain is no problem for me. Naruto forced out. Child, what you're asking would be near impossible. The chances of survival are below slim to none. Orochimaru stated. Not to mention the pain you'd be in and laws of nature we'd be breaking in the process. You really want to do this? Naruto stated. More than asked. The snake fell to his knees and wrapped an arm around Naruto. Please. Orochimaru begged. It would be an honor. It had taken a day for them to prepare. They were in a sterile room covered in seals, with Naruto and Orochimaru in the center. You know it's dangerous, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru spoke. It was. If even one seal was missed or out of place, then chances of death was high. Even if everything was in place, there was no guarantee that Naruto would survive. All great things are. Naruto countered. You know that firsthand. You are an interesting one. Orochimaru chuckled. You still haven't told me what you're planning. The Rabi stated. It had to admit, it was nervous. Fuinjutsu was one of the few things that could actually hurt it, possible even destroy it. Right now you are in me as a parasite. Naruto stated. Right. Rabi hesitantly agreed. That is dangerous for me. Naruto reasoned. If we were to ever run out of dark chakra, I'd be weakened even though you could reform after time. Rabi was beginning to understand. It was a leech demon, so by nature it was parasitic. For them to truly be in a symbiotic relationship, both needed to have a beneficial gain. Are you ready, Naruto-kun? Yes, we are. He answered. The process was begun. It was long and painful for both Naruto and Rabi. Their very bodies were being torn apart and remerged on several different levels. It was honestly the most painful thing either of them have ever felt. They would probably never feel anything as awful again. The worst part was they couldn't pass out from pain. They had to stay conscious through the whole process so that their minds wouldn't be destroyed. Naruto focused on the things that Rabi needed to continue. His hatred for Minato and plans of destruction for Akatsuki for daring to touch Mito. Things that gave Rabi the power to exist. He even thought of Nawaki's betrayal. For the first time in its life, Rabi did the opposite of its nature. It comforted Naruto, strengthened his will. Had the boy think of his precious people. Them being Mito, Tsunade, Mikoto, the Ichirakus. Even Nawaki, misguided though he was true family. Neither tried to fight the other for dominance of the body. They simply left their minds free and open to the other. It was a sign of trust to the other. Both had just as much to gain or lose, but there were parts in each other that neither could enter, not even themselves. Something was blocking them from their own knowledge. Finally it ended. They were no longer parasite and host, they were a true symbiosis. Separate in their shared minds, but together as one in all else, on many different planes. Orochimaru looked at the being before him. Hello? Orochimaru spoke. Are you Naruto or Rabi? We are neither. He weakly answered. We are both. Interesting. The snake thought. What shall I call you? Call us Menma. He answered. A sound shinobi entered the room with a large scroll. This is my end of the deal. It's my most up-to-date copy. Orochimaru spoke. I'll call that favor in later. Menma reached his hand into the darkness and pulled the kunai back out. Their deal was done. Rest for now. Orochimaru ordered. No harm will come to you. For a whole day Menma slept. It wasn't enough, but he had no reason to stay and every reason to leave. It was late in the evening when the black-haired boy prepared to leave. Menma was dressed in a standard ANBU outfit minus the cloak, though his outfit wasn't the only thing to change. He had hair blacker than anything Orochimaru had ever seen that sat wildly around his shoulders. The whisker marks he and his siblings shared hadn't vanished, they actually thickened. His once blue eyes were now a deep black with red dot in the center. His once young body developed a muscle mass he shouldn't possess for years. He had nearly grown an entire foot in height, not counting his hair. Naruto was leaving through the west gate when he felt a presence beside him. Where are you going? Orochimaru asked chidingly. Our deal is complete. Menma answered. We're leaving. You know that you are still too weak. Orochimaru stated. Even with the dark chakra, you would be an easy target. If you try to leave now, then anyone with the slightest bit of skill will kill you. It was true, Rabi had used all of its chakra to help sustain them during the merging process. What little that was left was being used to sustain them at that very moment. We will survive. Menma stated. The black-haired boy turned to leave. He had business to tend to. If you stay, I'll have you trained as a Jinchuriki of the Rabi. Orochimaru offered. Menma looked at the snake suspiciously. Why, if I were you, I'd take the chance to gather as much free negative energy as I can. Orochimaru hinted. Especially when you can actually train and master your abilities, we accept. Menma didn't know what possessed him to agree, but he did. Excellent. Orochimaru purred. I'll have an acquaintance meet with us in a few days to begin your training. One question still bothered Menma. How did you know we'd be leaving? Menma asked as they made their way back to the village and from this gate. This question seemed to amuse him since he began suppressing his amusement. This gate. He gestured around. Is actually the gate furthest from Konoha. A simple week has passed for the two. Orochimaru allowed Menma to stay in his village and study the notes on Akatsuki and the tailed beast. He was constantly sustained by the negative energy the village radiated. Menma in turn helped Orochimaru search for a way to disable the Flying Thunder God technique. So far, neither of them have found a suitable solution. They both hated the man, but they admitted he was a genius in Fuinjutsu. Orochimaru never questioned the blonde on his plans or goals. Whatever he had planned, the snake knew it would be interesting. At the end of the week, Orochimaru's ally arrived, a man named Shino. At his first meeting, Menma went on guard. The man came off as pleasant, but Menma knew that it was a facade. Deep down, the man resented Menma, for what he had no idea. If the man had meant Menma any harm, he never got the chance. Orochimaru always had an eye on them, either himself or a loyal guard. The man had taught Naruto everything he knew about the Zero Tails and Dark Chakra. The list of dark techniques and capabilities Shino possessed shocked Menma. It was then that Menma began to finally understand the man. Months passed and Naruto grew in both skill and power. He actually enjoyed Sound Village, but everything had a limit. It was time for Menma to set his plans in motion. You have been an interesting guest, Menma-kun. Orochimaru spoke. I think I'll actually be sad to see you go. We will miss you as well, Orochimaru-sensei. Menma admitted. The snake looked at the boy before him. In the time they spent together, they actually bonded. Naruto trusted the fallen Sannin and his ways. Orochimaru actually saw a bit of himself inside of the blonde turned black. He showed the snake what he could have been if he had taken a slightly different path. Orochimaru reached inside his cloak and pulled out a sound headband. In case you need village affiliation. Orochimaru stated you will be welcomed here if needed. Naruto looked at the headband. It meant a lot. Thank you, sensei. He tied the headband around his head. Menma watched as the snake made his way into the village. It was time to go. No sooner had Orochimaru closed the gates did Menma notice a second presence. He looked and saw that it was Shino, the man had hidden while Orochimaru was near. Now that the snake was gone, he could finally act. Hello, Menma? He greeted. Shino-sensei. Menma returned. Before you leave, Menma, I have a surprise for you. Shino spoke warmly. That's not necessary. Menma reasoned. Please, Menma. Shino spoke as he firmly placed a hand on the child's shoulder. I insist. Menma may have gained more power and sound, if measured, a little more than a single tail's worth. Even so, the man still made him nervous. Fine. He had no choice but to agree. They left in a body flicker of darkness, not made by Menma. They arrived about a mile outside of the village. Around them was nothing but an empty plain, minus a figure. The figure was on the ground, bound by ropes with a bag over his head. Something about him drew Menma to him. Menma was making his way towards his target. He didn't know how he knew, he just did. Probably has something to do with Rabi. He reasoned. Menma removed the bag from his head and looked him in the eyes. Who are you? The man asked. The man was Rashi, host of the Four Tails. Menma turned and looked at his teacher in disbelief. You brought the Jinchuriki of the Four Tails here? He asked in shock. How and why? As a trading item. Shino answered. You take the Yambi and give me the Zero. Menma looked at the man before him. He had dropped his kind facade and was now showing his true colors. No. Naruto stated. The man gave a false sigh of sadness. You should have taken the deal. Zero Tails sealing technique. The ground beneath both Menma and Rashi began to glow with seals. It didn't take long to understand what was happening. A trap. We can't move. Menma exclaimed. It's such a shame, explaining to Orochimaru how you died. He stated. Killed by the Four Tails. A cruel smile formed on his lips. I'll extract the Rabi from your corpse. And how do you plan on making me kill a child? Rashi asked. Shino turned towards the man, as if he had forgotten him. I didn't say you, I said the Yambi. Shino repeated. You're just a wall. Before Rashi could retort, he felt the darkness penetrate his very being. It was so strong that it affected the Yambi himself. Menma was feeling different. He felt the darkness. He gathered leave him. It was like spending all that time and sound was for nothing. Well, I can't just extract the Zero from its host. Shino stated as it were obvious. Doing so could cause it to be destroyed. It would take years for it to reform. He regained his cruel smile. But I can drain it of the negative energy and place it elsewhere, say inside the Yambi's host. His intentions were now as plain as day. He would use the darkness of the tailed beast to overpower its host and attack Menma. You made one mistake. Rashi spoke over the darkness. Your seal stops the child, but not me. Just as he finished that statement, he proved those words true. A single but large tail appeared behind him, the tail of Yambi. What the hell? Without so much as a hand sign, Rashi's cheek expanded. Monkey flame Urasan. A jet of green flames fired out of Rashi's mouth. However, Rashi didn't aim towards Shino or even Menma. He aimed the flames towards the ground, towards the seals. The seals began to pulse at the sudden surge of demonic chakra. It was meant to contain the Zero's darkness, not Yambi's demonic chakra. With a final flash, the platform cracked, stopping the darkness flow and releasing Menma. Now! He mentally shouted. Without the need of hand signs, Menma began manipulating the shadows. Exploding shadow leech. A leech made entirely of darkness launched itself at Shino. It latched its head onto his Shino's neck and began to expand its serpent-like body like a balloon. It was an attack Naruto based mostly off of Deidara's style. It would latch itself onto a target and start draining them of chakra. Once it devoured enough or was attacked, it would explode. Shino pulled out a scalpel and struck the shadow construct. As warned, the shadow construct erupted in a chakra explosion. Because the creature was still so small, the damage was superficial. However, it being a blow to the neck was dangerous. Fool, I designed most of Orochimaru's revitalizing jutsus to begin with. He shouted, do you think a simple wound like this will hurt me? He looked for a responder, and saw that he was alone. An exhausted Menma pulled an equally exhausted Rashi from a shadow. Menma knew that anyone Orochimaru saw as a colleague would be tough to kill. That's why the exploding leech was just a simple distraction. It worked long enough for Menma to meld into the darkness with Rashi. Speaking of Rashi, Menma looked at the man. He wasn't doing too well. The darkness transference seal may have been destroyed, but not soon enough. Enough of the darkness made its way inside of Rashi to affect Yambi. The man and the beast inside were fighting. Rashi, we need to draw the darkness from you. Menma spoke. We need you to. You know, kid, you look a lot like Minato Namikaze. Rashi hissed, cutting the child off. I hate Minato Namikaze. The last part was punctuated by a roar as Rashi entered the second stage of his demon cloak. Not good. Menma thought. It wasn't good, not in the slightest. Both Rashi and the Yambi were tainted by the rabies darkness. Alone that would do little more than send them into either a depression or berserker rage without a target. However, they had a target. The target was Menma. As Rashi stated, he looked like Minato Namikaze. Minato was the cause of death for most of the IWA shinobis during the war, Rashi's village. The Yambi was able to sense the essence of the rabi, an old foe. It knew of the Zero Tail's purpose and didn't like it. That left the two with one goal: destroy the enemy. Menma jumped back as the enraged beast attacked. Like all tailed beasts, they along the host came with a unique ability. Theirs was lava. Shit! Menma exclaimed as he jumped again. It was all he could do against the enraged Jinchuriki. Menma didn't want to hurt him. He was under the influence of the darkness. Even if he wanted to, Menma only possessed less than a tail of power thanks to the seal. Rashi was in the opposite. He possessed 4 tails and darkness. We are trying to help you. Menma shouted. You aren't yourself. The darkness is affecting you. You share the same likeness of that man. Rashi shouted. It was true, even with his transformation, Menma was still Naruto. Don't compare us to that bastard. Menma snapped. We are nothing like him. Lies. Rashi declared. You must be destroyed. He must be destroyed. He stated all things of him must be destroyed. Menma finally stopped dodging. All things would include his brother, sister, and grandmother. Forget that. He would move to the offensive. No one is hurting our precious people. Menma began summoning darkness chakra. Dark swarm. A swarm of leeches began to squirm from Menma's shadow. Just like with Shino, the leeches attack and grow bigger. The difference in these is that they don't self-destruct when attacked or full of chakra. They just continued their assault on the target. Menma watched as the darkness-possessed Rashi tried to fend off the swarm. As much as he tried, they continued their assault. With his chakra output, they were reaching the size of a full-grown snake's. Menma was sure of his victory until he heard a single clap. Lava armor. Just as the name stated, Rashi was covered in an armor of pure lava. Menma watched as his leeches began to burn to nothing. The lava-covered man began a full stampede towards Menma in a blind fury. Shadow cloak. A cloak of darkness covered the boy. It hung off of him loosely, like a black smoke. They both pulled their arms back and swung, their elemental fists meeting in a collision of power, and the world fell away. Menma looked around and saw that he wasn't on the battlefield anymore. He was in a lake, or on it. Where the hell are we? Menma asked. His answer was a roar of pain and anger. Menma looked behind himself and came face to face with the 4-tailed monkey. Something's wrong, Menma realized. The monkey had large patches of darkness covering various parts of him. If you looked closely, you could see that they were swarms of tiny leeches. Now Menma understood. They were draining him of his power. Return. Menma commanded. Without so much as a second's hesitation, the darkness did. The leeches flew towards Menma and swarmed around him. Menma felt a sensation of power flow into him as the leeches returned. It wasn't just the darkness, something else came with them. He felt an emotional gain with the power. He gained something he only felt for his precious family: pride. So you came to steal my power? The monkey stated, breaking Menma from his thoughts. No, Yambi-san. Menma replied. Don't call me that. Yambi snapped. I am not identified by my tails. I am Son Goku. The tailed beasts have names? Menma thought only to smack himself. Of course they have names, they aren't mindless. He felt ashamed in himself. It was like Minato to think different. I apologize. Menma bowed. This action baffled the giant, red ape. Humans had always tried to enslave him, but this one's different. What are you planning? Sun mumbled, thanks to his size it carried. I am searching for the tailed beast, and their Jinchuriki. Menma answered I need to warn them of an organization called Akatsuki. We already know. A third voice cut in. The two entities snapped their heads towards Rashi. The man had a few stray leeches on his body. Menma drew them back in. You know? Menma asked, then we need to get you somewhere safe. The man and monkey looked at each other before turning back to the boy. Boy, who would take in a person like me? He asked skeptically. Even if they did, it would just be for the Four Tails' power. I told you not to call me that. The Yambi snapped. There has to be a place where. Why do you care? Rashi asked. You already have what you came for. Yambi stated. This confused Menma. He didn't have anything. You've stolen my power. Now he understood. Yes, Goku-san, we got some of the power we wanted, but so you admit it? He roared. The giant monkey reached out with his large hand. Unlike the Kyuubi, the Yambi didn't have a cage to hold him back. The monkey nearly grabbed Menma in his powerful grip. It was only thanks to the chains that bound him that he missed by inches. We had no intention of stealing your power. The boy clarified, we fully intended to earn it from you, and only a tail. He felt the power he already gained. We didn't get enough. Less than a tail actually, we need more. And how would you do that? Rashi asked. That ape is so stingy with his power that it nearly cost us our lives. You mean your life? Goku corrected. I would just reform. Menma watched as the two continued on with their bickering. I'm not dealing with this. He thought. Boy. Rashi called. Why do you speak as if you were more than one person? We are. Menma answered. We are both the Zero Tails and Naruto Senju. He made sure to emphasize his last name. We are bonded closer than you two. That leech isn't one to trust. Goku warned. He just wants to. We know. Menma cut in. We are helping. What's going on? Rashi asked. The Zero Tail is a leech demon who wants to become whole again. Menma explained. To do that, it must merge with the other tailed beasts. That would return us to the Jubi. Goku retorted. We would lose ourselves. That is why we request only a tail of power. Menma explained. From there we can collect all 9 with 0 being the 10th. He'd still be the Jubi, and you all stay you. But the Jubi wouldn't be as powerful as it once was. Rashi stated. No way would it be content with just a fraction of its power. Time will return its power. Menma stated. War and suffering is constant. It will grow quickly. The Yambi eyes the boy skeptically. What do you get out of this? We get power. I knew it. The Yambi roared. You humans are all. Wait. Rashi cut in. What will you do with the power? There was no need for Menma to think of an answer. To him it was as plain as day. We will use it to protect our precious people. Menma answered. In a village far away, a red-headed girl felt a pleasant shudder. Are you thinking of me, brother? She asked aloud. What? Nawaki asked. Nothing. Mito replies. Just think of our brother. As soon as she says these words, she came to regret it. A chakra chain wraps itself around her and begins to squeeze until she screams. I told you I'm your only brother. He yelled. Mito stares at the boy that called himself her brother. He hadn't held that title since Tsunade told her of his betrayal to Naruto. He was just like their father. Come home, brother. She begged. I'm so alone. Ever since Naruto's departure, the world had become so much crueler. The Yambi looked at the child before him. He couldn't have been older than 9 years old, yet he held passion and pride. Goku added. The Four Tails respected pride. He hated arrogance, but respected pride. Boy, how much of my power did you gain? Yambi asked. Menma felt for it. A whole tail. Do you want it back? Goku felt that if he had said yes, the child would have returned it. Instead he answered. No, how would you like to earn it? Both humans looked at the red ape. We're listening. Free me from these chains. Goku spoke, and I will give you the power. Menma made his way towards the monkey, only for Rashi to block his path. That is a bad idea. Rashi spoke. Everyone deserves freedom. Menma spoke. The child jumped into the primate's hand and was leveled with the chains. He placed a hand on it and called for the darkness. Corruption. The once pure chains of Fuinjutsu that held the Four Tails began to erode. They took a blackish tint before they fell away. Freedom! Goku bellowed. Now you've done it! Rashi spoke as he tensed. The giant monkey reached out with his large hand. Without his chains, the Yambi had nothing to hold him back. The monkey grabbed Rashi in his powerful grip. The man couldn't hold back his scream of pain. It was as if he was being burnt by mere contact with the large beast. It was actually worse because Rashi had never been burnt a day in his life. Being the host of the Yambi would have made such a thing unprideful for the great monkey. Take your stinking paws of me! Rashi screamed. You damn dirty ape! This outburst shocked everyone, even Rashi. The Yambi was so shocked that he did release the man. Need damage control. This is no time to be fighting yourselves. The two looked at him. Oh, who should I blame for my imprisonment? Not Rashi. Menma answered. If he's anything like most hosts, he didn't have a choice. The four-tailed beast looked at the red-headed man as he stood up. I didn't want this any more than you did, Goku. Rashi admitted while not looking at either of them. Remember, my life was hell. What did you say? Goku asked in disbelief. Nothing. Rashi mumbled. You said my name. Goku spoke in wonder. You say that as if it was a great event. Menma cut in. That's the first time he ever said my name, my actual name. The Yambi explained. The man took a pause as if he were considering it. To his shock, it was completely true. I've always known your name. Rashi admitted. I've just never been soft-hearted enough to use it. What changed? That would probably be us. Menma spoke up. All eyes were on him. When we took the darkness from you, we took your negative emotions. The red monkey studied the boy before him. He placed his fist out. What? Menma was confused by the action. Bumped fist. Rashi spoke. Tailed beasts only do this to show respect or give something. The last time he saw Goku do this, he gained enough respect to use the tailed beast's power. Menma placed his fist against the monkeys. This was different from before when he gained the raw power and prideful emotions. This time he felt something hot and powerful. I give you my power. Goku spoke. Use it well. With those words, Menma was sent from the mindscape. What the hell? Menma looked at the man next to him as he awoke. The monkey expelled us. How? Rashi asked. It's my mind, but it's home. Menma retorted. Rashi looked at the boy cryptically. Kid, how old are you? Rashi asked. Cause you speak with the wisdom of an old man. We're only 9. Menma exclaimed. Well kid, you should get going. Rashi spoke. Going? You're searching for the tailed beasts, right? Rashi asked. I recommend Mist. Why Mist? You should find someone from the Terumi clan. They could use your new abilities. Rashi explained. They are also a village with a tailed beast, the 3 tails. Unfortunately, the 6 tails is gone. He's a rogue if I remember correctly. He gave the boy a thoughtful look. They are in a civil war, so you should be able to get in easily enough. Menma understood the part about the tailed beast, but why did he need training? It seemed Rashi could see his confusion. The red-headed man pointed down, and Menma followed with his eyes. The ground beneath them was turning into a puddle of magma. The first thing Menma did was scream and thrash around. He even began letting his shadows flow around without control. It wasn't until Rashi placed a hand on him did he realize something important. He wasn't burning. It's a gift from the old monkey. Rashi explained. You can now use the lava style. Sweet. Menma exclaimed. This is so cool, or hot. Rashi watched as the boy examined his new abilities. For the first time since they met, Menma was acting like a child his age. Fascinated by having superpowers and the like. Wait, can't you train us? Menma asked. The man gave a disappointing sigh. No, I have to deal with Akatsuki. Then let us help you. Menma begged. We can defeat them together. I'm sorry, child, but this is out of your league. Rashi explained before mumbling. I'm sure it's out of mine as well. He put on a false smile for the boy. Besides, you have 8 other tailed beasts to find. Menma wanted to argue against it, but he knew it would be pointless. He's right anyway. Menma thought. He needed to continue with the plan. We're off to Mist. Menma was making his way towards Sound Village. It was a long journey. Mostly because they were called hidden villages for a reason. For all he knew, he was halfway to IWA. If Menma had shinobi directions, he would have found the place. Instead, he was in the same position as a civilian. Need help? A familiar voice asked. Zero, where the hell have you been? Menma asked. Not Rabi. Zero retorted. I am a chibi, the One-Tails. Menma was more than a little skeptical. Isn't the One-Tails in sand? Instead of answering, it pulled Menma into their mindscape. Looking around, Menma saw that he was in a barren area. There was amazingly beautiful place like with the 4 tails. There wasn't even a large prison like with the Kyubi. There was just a mountain, with a cave. Menma decided to enter. He followed the long tunnel until he came upon an opening. The opening was actually a giant sphere-like room covered in the same seals that bound them together. Inside the opening was a large cocoon hanging from the ceiling. Menma made his way towards the anomaly. He placed a hand on the web-like threads that held the thing. A lot of dark chakra came from it. It was Rabi. Hello? The cocoon greeted. What's happening to you? Menma asked, slightly worried. I am evolving. It answered. Into what? The tail you gained from the 4 tails is turning me from 0 into 1. It explained, shocking the boy. What did you think would happen with all that power? It asked with a bit of humor. You don't just go from 0 to 10 without change. Menma had actually never put any thought to it. If that's the case, shouldn't you be turning into a Nibi from the Kyubi's chakra? I never gained anything from the fox. It explained. It seems that its negative half was split away somewhere. Apparently when it was sealed away, a man that smelt of monkey sealed it inside himself before the Shinigami ate him. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Menma whispered the 3rd Hokage. Yes, it seems. Wait a second. Menma cut and we both felt that bastard fox's emotions. It was practically walking hate. Yes? How evil is that fox? Menma asked. How evil was it? Pretty evil. It answered. We'll have to find a way to get the fox. Like what? Can I still call you Zero? Sure. With that, Menma was knocked back into reality. So that's what Rashi felt like? Menma asked no one. He looked around and saw that he had been moving on autopilot. Where the hell are we now? On an unused path to Mist. Zero answered. How? I searched for the largest source of negative emotions. A familiar voice spoke. There's a lot of fear and hate in the air. Menma was shocked that he didn't notice it before. It was coming at him in waves. He was also disappointed in himself for not thinking of that method himself. It was the exact same way that he found sound in the first place. He did notice one thing in the negative emotions, a spark of hope. There was a large group of people who carried a flicker of hope that pushed away their negative feelings. He decided to head that way. His traveling was cut short by an enemy. Halt! A shaky voice called. Menma turned to see a blue-haired boy with glasses. He had a large bandaged object strapped to his back, some kind of weapon. The funny part was the weapon was as big as its wielder. He can't be any older than 14. Menma guessed. No wonder he seemed to have confidence issues. He didn't need his abilities to see that the boy was nervous. His shaky stance was enough of a tell. Who are you? A second voice asked. Menma turned to see a man, a seasoned warrior. He had his left eye covered with an eye patch. He was skilled enough to hide his emotions as well as his chakra. That was something impressive. A Jounin. Menma estimated what's with that weird chakra in his covered eye. Menma decided to feel the area for anyone else. He found a third person who was still hidden. The man saw how the black-haired child was sizing them up. He was impressed. The boy seemed to know what he was doing. He noticed the child seemed to be focusing on the sword and his eye. We are Menma? He answered. Who are you, W.E.? The blue-haired boy questioned. The adult decided to scan the area with his eye, a Byakugan. There was no one within 2 miles that he wasn't familiar with. However, when he focused chakra into his eye, the boy named Menma tensed. Who are you? Menma asked again. That's a Byakugan. I'm Chojuro. The boy answered. This is Ao. This earned Chojuro a slap to the back of his head from the newly named Ao. Back in my day. He began scolding. Ninja didn't just give out information. I'm sorry. Menma watched the two. He found it funny. His laughter drew Ao's attention. What are you doing out here, boy? Ao asked. We're looking for someone in the Terumi clan. Menma answered. Why are you looking for a Terumi? Ao asked coldly. Menma saw both of the mist shinobi to tense up. He could feel a great wave of distrust coming from them. We think we should be going? Menma spoke. He turned to leave only for his path to be blocked by Ao. Chojuro grabbed the weapon from his back and prepared himself for anything. That weapon's no joke. He could feel the raw chakra coming from it. Menma was sure he could at least fight off and escape Chojuro. Ao, on the other hand, was a different story. He had more chakra than both of them combined, but not the experience. Without it, he knew he didn't stand much of a chance. New plan, he thought. Are you two really going to team up to beat up a 9-year-old? He asked. Yes. Ao answered. Damn, he wasn't ready for this kind of confrontation yet. He needed to end this as quickly as possible. He charged Chojuro. He seemed to be the weaker one. He used the one technique that Rashi taught him before they parted. Lava style, scorching rocks jutsu. Menma's cheek began to expand as he launched his attack. A large amount of lava was expelled from his mouth that solidified into 3 boulders of molten rock. This attack seemed to shock the 2 mist ninja more than Menma expected. Thanks to his years of experience, Ao was the first to recover. Look out, Chojuro! He shouted, knocking the boy out of his stupor. Chojuro stood his ground and swung his sword at the upcoming molten rocks. He was able to knock 2 of them away in a single swing, but the third grazed his side. Ao was already making his way towards Menma's blind spot. However, the molten balls that Chojuro struck were heading straight towards him. He was able to dodge both but left himself open. Menma took advantage of that. In the split second it took Ao to dodge the attack, Menma stepped into his guard. He reached a darkness-covered hand towards the man's face. Before Menma could connect, he was struck in the side. The blow knocked the air out of him as he flew into a tree. He looked to see that the one who struck him was Chojuro. Even with the burn on his side, he was continuing the fight. He stood up to continue the fight, only to hear clapping. All 3 men turned towards the one making the sound. It was a woman, a beautiful one at that. She had long, sultry auburn hair. She wore a long-sleeved, dark blue dress that came to her ankles. She was young, from the looks of it. She was only 20 years old. The woman made her way towards Menma with a bit of swing to her hips. When she was a foot away, she stopped. She stared at the boy with mixed looks. These looks carried to her emotions, making it hard for Menma to understand them. The woman then began to rub Menma's face, as if to prove he was there. When she did, she began rubbing with more affection. Can we help you? Menma asked as he fought to keep his blush down. He failed. No. She answered as she continued rubbing his face, but maybe I can help you. What did Grandma say to do when a pretty lady stranger is rubbing me? Oh yeah? He took a deep breath. We need an adult. This didn't seem to deter the woman in the slightest. In fact, she smiled. I am an adult. Before Menma could reply, she kneed him in the stomach. All went black. When Menma awoke, he found himself inside a tent. His arms and legs were bound with ninja chakra wire. The more he struggled, the tighter they became. The wire was tied to the top of the tent, holding him in the air. Great. He sighed. Not one to sit around too long, Menma hoped to his feet. He crawled out of the tent, and saw that he was still in the woods. The same one that he was knocked unconscious in. Maybe we can make a break for it, he thought. So you're awake. A sweet voice spoke. Menma turned to see the lady who knocked him out. She was smiling at him very sweetly, but she had a watchful eye on him. Can you show it to me? She asked sweetly. Please, show you what? Menma asked nervously. Come on, you know what? Menma looked at the two men that he first encountered. They seemed to be just as uncomfortable as him. I'll show you mine if you show me yours, she offered. Menma's blush just doubled. The black-haired boy began fighting against the binds with renewed vigor, ignoring the wire. It's easier if you just accept that you lost. Ao spoke back. In my day, ones with innocence like yours were kept safe, not fighting to the death. Accept lost innocence death. The woman misheard. What does he think I am, a pervert? Ao. She spoke too sweetly. Shut up, or I'll kill you. The man took the hint and obeyed. The woman gave Menma a reassuring smile before standing up. I know these are hard times for our kind. She spoke calmly. But you are among friends here. Our kind? Menma asked. Are all they perverts? You know, bloodline users. Chojuro pushed. We're not a bloodline user. Menma spoke in understanding. It's something else. Menma didn't know if he could tell these people. They were confusing. He had just met and been assaulted by each of them. He already felt that he's told them too much. Not a bloodline user? The woman asked sadly. But you used the lava style, without hand signs. Menma could feel a sense of dread and loneliness coming off of the woman. It seemed that she placed a lot of joy and hope into him being a bloodline user. If you aren't a bloodline user? Ao asked. Then why are you searching for a Terumi? We'll only tell that to a Terumi. Menma answered. Unless we speak to one, we won't say anything. A tough guy, huh? The woman asked. Well, welcome to the revolution. She spoke as she cut him down. I am Mei, last of the Terumi clan. Inside of the village hidden in the mist was Yugura the Mizukage. He was known as the youngest Kage ever. He was known for skill in water jutsu and staff fighting. He was known for starting the bloodline purge. What is this strange sensation? He asked himself. I haven't felt anything like this since. His eyes widened. There was one thing he wasn't known for, that only the best shinobi figure out. He was the Jinchuriki of the Sanbai, the three-tailed turtle. Turtle, he called. Inside his mindscape was a lake of polluted water, the prison of the Sanbai. Said beast began to rise from the water. What do you want, human? He asked. The Sanbai didn't like this human. It was the worst host yet. Yugura had taken control of the beast's chakra. That wasn't the worst part. It had expected that. Like the other, it was the wars that Sanbai detested. What was that feeling that came over me? Yugura asked. I know it was your doing. The Sanbai was trying to determine whether or not it should tell. It decided to do so. It didn't want to deal with more chains. It is the Rabi. Sanbai spoke. 0 tails? Yugura asked, unbelieving. Do you take me for a fool? I know there are only 9-tailed beasts. It is not a tailed beast. Then what is it? Yugura asked, annoyed. And why is it here? It is a beast born of the darkness of mankind. Sanbai answered. Why wouldn't it be here, especially with the fear and hate you've bred? The Sanbai came to regret his statement as soon as he finished. Yugura forced the chains he wore to tighten and the pollution to increase. You will not mock my crusade against those abominations. Yugura hissed. Now tell me, what does it want? Me. Why? Same reason as you. Sanbai answered. Power, I see. Yugura spoke. Then it is a threat to me. He stated, or a possible ally? What will you do? That does not concern you. With that, Yugura left his mindscape. When Menma processed the words, he cheered. Did you say Mei Terumi? Menma asked, as in the only natural dual-wielding bloodline user. The newly named Mei nodded in answer. She was shocked when he gave a fanboy squeal. He had read about Mei Terumi since he was still in Konoha. A kunoichi who possessed two bloodlines without any artificial or inhumane assistance. We're a huge fan. He exclaimed. We read about your exploits. You are one of the greatest kunoichi in existence. Oh, Menma-kun. She blushed. You're flattering me too much. Can we have an autograph? He asked. Pleasantries later. Ao spoke. Why are you looking for a Terumi? Menma looked at the man in front of him. He was too uptight. May we speak to you alone? Menma asked the kunoichi. Absolutely not. Ao exclaimed. Ao, are you insinuating that I can't protect myself from a child? She asked too sweetly. The man was already making his way out of the tent, dragging Chojuro by the neck. You sure have them in line. Menma stated. Why are you looking for me? Mei asked. Better yet, why are you in mist? She tapped the headband he wore. This says you're a long way from home. Even further than you think. He thought to himself. We were looking for someone of the Terumi clan to train us. Menma answered half honestly. We recently gained the lava element, and need proper training. How long are you going to play captive? Mei asked. What do you mean? He asked, trying to play dumb. Menma saw the change in the pleasant woman. She was now a professional. This can be easy or hard. She warned. What gave us away? He asked. You're too calm. She answered. That means you're confident in your abilities. The child gave a sigh of defeat before smiling. Using his darkness power, he corrupted the wire holding him until it snapped. Was that corrosion style? She asked, hope returning. No. Menma answered. Then I really am alone. She mumbled. What happened here? Menma asked. Why is this village in such a state of despair? I'll try to be polite, Menma-kun. She spoke. But you are a prisoner here. She admitted. We are the ones asking questions, understood? Menma was contemplating on whether or not he should just leave. He could do so easily with his darkness abilities, but he needed her. We understand. He spoke. Good. She spoke sweetly, making his sweat drop. How can you use the lava style if you aren't a bloodline user? It was given to us. Menma answered by a friend. Who is this friend? She asked. Menma wasn't going to answer the question. He admired the woman, but she was still holding him captive. He wasn't going to turn on a fellow Jinchuriki. It seemed she could tell he wasn't going to talk. Fine. She spoke. Why come to Kiri? There are other people who can use it. IWA and Kumo. Our friend said to come here. He answered. Plus, those aren't actual lava styles. Menma stated in denial. One uses rubber, and the other uses quicklime. How is that lava? Mei couldn't help but laugh and agree with his statement. So you need training in true lava? Yes. Will you help us? No. She answered, losing all kindness. What you're asking for our clan secrets. She gained a sad look in her eyes. When I may very well take to the grave. I can take them from her. Rabi offered. We can get the knowledge and leave. Menma would have agreed, but stopped. He remembered that a clan secret was a thing that was to be guarded until death. Even after his exile, he hadn't told any secrets. Well, except Minato's kunai. He thought. Maybe we should tell more, just to screw him over. We understand. Menma spoke in defeat. We will be on our way. Mei didn't try to stop him from leaving. She even held the flaps open for him. Menma looked around. He didn't like what he saw. Apparently Mei brought him to the slums of Kiri. There were buildings falling apart and people sleeping on the streets. What will you do now? Mei asked. We need to find the host of the Sanbai. He answered without thinking. What? Mei asked harshly. Why would you be looking for me? Another voice asked. Menma looked on in curiosity, but Mei froze in place. Yugura looked at the two before him. The first one was someone he wasn't familiar with. It was a young child, a black-haired boy. The second person he was familiar with, a sworn enemy. Mei Terumi, a dual bloodline user, the leader of the Abominations Rebellion. You are the host of the Zero Tails? Yugura asked. Are you the host of the Three Tails? Menma asked in reply. They were at a stalemate at the moment, both wanting the other to answer. Neither wanting to be the first to answer. Menma-kun. Mei spoke harshly. Get behind me. Why? Menma asked. He felt the anger and fear coming from her and the two males. He turned to look at them and saw all three ready for battle. This man is the Mizukichi. She growled. The one who started the Bloodline Wars. Ao added. Bloodline Wars? Menma asked. We knew Kiri was in a civil war, but what's this about a bloodline war? The village had kept that a secret. Didn't need the outside villages getting any funny ideas. That abomination beside you is corrupting my village. Yugura spoke. I've decided to take up a crusade against those filth. He stared directly at the boy. I will purge them from my lands before doing the same to the other villages. That's part of the reason you're here after all. Yugura stated. I know the darkness attracted you here. Yugura explained. For some reason the Sanbai reacted to you. What is the Sanbai's name? Menma asked. What? The Sanbai, what the name? Who cares about the demon? Yugura asked. It's just a weapon. All of them are. Even the Zero Tails is. Menma looked at the Kage before him in disbelief. We see. Menma spoke. What is he talking about? Ao asked. That is he looked for the right words. He was only 9, so he stuck with the basics. The dumbest thing we have ever heard. I couldn't expect a kid to understand. Yugura sighed. Oh, we understand. Menma countered. First you tell me you're purposelessly weakening your own village because of your hatred. Menma started. Then in your weakened state, you want to start a war with everyone. It's just asking for this village's destruction. Ao exclaimed. Back in my day, Mizuki's were not the time. Ao. Mei snapped. I must thank you. Yugura spoke with a smile. Why? Mei asked. Did you see the error of your ways and decide to end the war? You've given me 2 things I could only have hoped for. He answered to Menma, ignoring Mei. You've given me the head of those filthy bloodline users' leader. You've given me another weapon. The Mizukichi spoke. Join me. I can teach you to control your beast, and we can purge these beings from the earth. You're the opposite of him. Menma snarled. The opposite, but the exact same as that man. The air around them changed as they prepared for battle. Masama. Ao spoke. We will hold him off while you return to base. Why yeah, no. She stated. I will not abandon you to him. Mei-sama, you have to understand your duty to the rebellion. What about my duty to you too? She countered. Please Mei-sama. Chojuro cried. If you die, so will the will to fight. He explained. You are the one who will lead us out of the age of bloody mist. It would all be for nothing. Ao added. Then she struggled to find her words. I order you to return alive and well. With a heavy heart, she turned to leave. The two waited a full minute before charging the Mizukichi. Ao drew a kunai and Chojuro unstrapped his weapon. It appeared to be in the shape of a spade or fish's fin. Yugura drew his staff. Water style, water mirror jutsu. He created a large, flat, circular pool of water in front of his opponents. Its surface acts like a mirror, perfectly reflecting the attacking targets. Chojuro and Ao clashed with their clones. The clones attacked with a perfected copy of the originals. It was the perfect counter. The clones dispelled on impact. The attack worked as the perfect distraction. Yugura was able to make his way past Mei's guards. On his way through, he delivered a non-fatal blow to Ao. He fell over in an unconscious heap. Chojuro appeared behind the Mizukichi in a blur. He had his weapon out, and wielded it with both his hands, Hiramakari unleashing, long sword. The weapon he wielded flared with chakra and took the form of an overly large sword. The blow connected with the Mizuki's back. We can't believe it, Menma thought. Why did he just take the attack? The confusion was short-lived as he focused onto the battle. Even though the blade connected, Yugura barely moved. He only leaned forward in the manner of being patted on the back. He lazily turned his attention to Chojuro. You're a fool, he simply stated. I am the host of the three-tailed turtle. An attack on my back is pointless, one of my gifts as a host. He delivered a punch to the boy's stomach. If you had at least used the hammer model, you could have sent me flying. Damn you, was all Chojuro gasped before collapsing. Be glad you two aren't bloodline user. He spoke. You have a chance at redemption. He continued after the woman. Menma followed after them. We can't believe they just ignored us. Mei had already made a little distance, just enough to make it away from the civilians. The distance just wasn't far enough for a Kage-level shinobi. He caught up to her just as she made it to a lake. This is the worst place for a battle against the Three Tails host. Menma spoke when he arrived. Menma-kun? Mei was shocked. What are you doing here? We're here to help, he answered. Just get out of here. She screamed. This is no place for a child. She's right. Yugura spoke. Besides, this war is none of your concern. It is our concern. Menma spoke with conviction. We will not abandon you to someone like him. Menma spat. To someone like that man? Mei was shocked at the venom in Menma's voice. Whoever he's referring to must be awful, she thought. We asked you again, what is the Sanbai's name? Menma spoke. My answer is the same. You aren't worthy of being a Jinchuriki. Menma whispered. Step aside, boy. He ordered. I have business to attend to. No. Menma spoke. What? Mei asked in shock. He turned and gave the woman an ear to your smile. We may be attracted to darkness, but we are not evil. He explained. You are the source of hope we have been feeling around here. We can't let you die. He turned attention back toward the enemy. Leave. Head to the base. I'll hold him off. He'll kill you, Mei exclaimed. I agree. Yugura spoke as he gave another sigh. Well, as a thank you for the gifts of her head and the Zero Tails, I will show you my power and why they are inferior. The Mizukage spoke. When I am done, I hope you will have seen the error of your choice. His eyes turned cold. If not, you die. Leave! Menma shouted as he began to concentrate. As he did, Yugura studied him for a hint of his capabilities. So he can manipulate darkness. Interesting, Yugura assessed. The ability of the Zero Tails, dark style, malleable chakra. This technique is what allowed Menma to bend the darkness into an array of instruments. In this instance, he chose a sword. He wasn't a master of the sword art, he was actually a novice. He only had a few weeks of training from Orochimaru. Need to make it fast, he thought. Using the darkness as a booster, he pushed himself off in a dash. He delivered a slash towards Yugura's side. The Mizukage just blocked it with his staff. No way, he thought in disbelief. This sword should have cut through his staff. That was a strong blow. Yugura spoke. Do you have a bloodline? Menma quickly backed away a distance from the Mizukage before answering. No. He answered. We weren't lucky enough to be born with one. The Mizukage disappeared from Menma's view before reappearing a foot from him. Water style, liquid bullets. Just as the name suggested, Yugura fired a single ball of condensed water from his mouth. Menma was barely able to dodge the attack. He did so by pushing himself away with the darkness. Dark style, shadow cloak. A shroud of darkness surrounded Menma. It was similar to smoke screen around his body. It was capable of protecting the boy and attacking with him, as well as moving. He pushed himself behind the Kage and swung his sword. Yugura simply ducked. The black-haired boy sent a shrouded fist towards the Kage. Yugura simply leaned his head to the side to dodge. Though the limit to his fist was reached, the shadows continued. It pulled Menma along until he was behind the Mizukage. He delivered a blow to Yugura's face just as the Kage turned around. Got him, he thought. The blow was enough to draw blood from the stunned Kage. Things are moving nicely, Menma thought. Menma watched as he stood, unfazed by the blow. He should be feeling that, Menma thought. Menma pushed himself forward with the shadow darkness. He punched the ground, causing the dust to pick up and blind Yugura. With an opening, Menma jabbed his sword forward. He missed by a hair fraction. It might as well have been a yard. Yugura raised his staff and brought it down. Menma just barely dispersed himself into the darkness. Damn it, we need more power, Menma raged. Maybe. Menma began to call on the Yambi's power. A small sheet of magma formed onto his left fist. It hardened into a sheet-like fist that dripped lava. He had little to no control over it, but it was all he could muster. Menma pushed himself forward again, fist drawn and ready. They collided with Yugura's fist. Menma didn't enter Yugura's mindscape. All he saw was a spiral mask and a single Sharingan. He remembered that man. It was the same man that helped Itachi massacre the Uchiha clan. The same one that caused Mikoto-chan to be hurt. Begone. What? He exclaimed. He looked down and saw that Yugura's fist was coated as well. While Menma had lava, the Mizukage had coral. You didn't use hand signs, Yugura stated with distaste. Are you a bloodline user? We wish, Menma answered as he added more pressure to his fist. Yugura simply added more to his and forced the child back. Need space, he mumbled as he jumped back. Not happening. Yugura spoke, behind him. The Mizukage raised his staff and began beating against Menma's dark sword. Blow after blow he delivered to the child who could barely block. Each one was coming in stronger and faster. We know he's a Kage, but we shouldn't be this far behind. Menma thought angrily. Raising his left fist, he punched the Kage. Or at least he tried to. The Mizukage simply moved past the child and hooked the curved end of his staff into his shirt. Without any sign of exertion, he yanked the weapon attached to the boy. He landed in the lake. Menma didn't know the water walking technique, so he needed his shadows to stay afloat. Do you see why that filthy blooded woman ran? Yugura asked. She knew she was inferior to me, nothing but trash. He seemed to be searching for another set of words. They aren't special enough. Special enough, special enough, special enough. As soon as those words hit Menma's ears, something snapped. Those words just like that man. Menma snarled just like Minato. The black-haired boy began to scream into the sky. The scream soon became a roar of a beast. The darkness around Menma began to shudder and swarm around him. His chakra began to flare to their maximum heights. It was enough to make his left fist of lava shatter. Together, the chakra and darkness consumed the child. What was left was a black beast made of chakra. It had two serpentine-like tails flowing behind it. On its face wasn't the detail of some kind of animal. All that was seen was a no mask. So this is the Zero Tails. Yugura stated impressive. It looks like a stage 2 transformation. The beast began pumping the darkness into the air. It came out similar to the cloak, in a smoke-like state. It made a perfect smoke screen for the beast. Lava style, scorching rocks jutsu. With the smoke screen, it was the perfect chance to fire. The Mizukage simply waved through the attack before they connected. You have such little control that I don't need to be a censor. He eyed the direction of the beast. This is my last offer. Join me or die. The beast ran forward and punched the Mizukage in the face. However, he didn't budge. Instead, the Mizukage had a small but powerful chakra covering him. It looked like an aura of chakra flames were covering him. I give you gratitude for forcing me to use the initial state. Yugura spoke, but with the little control and skill you have, it'll be all I need to end this. He raised his staff, coated with the Sanbai's chakra. In a swift move, he dug it deep into the beast. They both returned to their regular forms as Menma hit the water. You sided with those filths? The Mizukage asked why. Menma took a moment before answering. He was too exhausted and in too much pain to continue. I envy them. What? Yugura asked, shocked. They are so unique. He answered, they Disun know how special they are. People would have killed for what they have. Now you will die for what they have. Yugura snarled. Lava style, lava globs. Menma closed his eyes as his consciousness began to fade. The last thing he saw was a ball of lava hit his attacker in the face. And a rain of kunai. Zero? Menma called. You are a fool. The cocoon snapped. What do you mean? Menma asked, taken back. Do you know why you lost? The cocoon asked. Why did you try to fight him alone? What made you think you could win? I had the darkness, lava and 2 tails of power. Menma answered, why was I so overwhelmed? Because he's stronger. The cocoon snapped. Just because you have the power doesn't mean you can control it. Have you forgotten why we came to Kiri for training? But Menma was at a loss for words. Yugura is a Kage for a reason, Menma. The cocoon began to calm itself before speaking again. Even without the Sanbai's power, he has more experience than you do. You are only 9 years old. Menma was beginning to understand. But why were we so overwhelmed? As he said, you have no control. The cocoon explained, you kept pumping chakra everywhere but into a proper attack. I'm sorry. Menma spoke. Don't be. It spoke. You fought hard and never even thought of surrendering. Be proud. I am. Menma cheered. Good, now leave. Menma opened his eyes, relieved to see he wasn't in a prison cell. He was in what looked to be an underground bunker. He was a little upset about being kicked out of his own mind. We need to have a talk about that. Finally awake? He turned to see Meitorumi. Are Ao and Chojuro okay? Menma asked. This shocked the woman in front of him. He's more worried about others before himself. She thought. Yes, they are alive and well. She answered with a smile. As if they were waiting for an entrance, both entered the room. They took their position on either side of Mei. Yugura is sometimes merciful on non-bloodline users. Chojuro spoke. Ao gained a cold look in his single eye. This was one of those rare moments. We saw him get hit with lava and kunais. Menma exclaimed, is he dead? Is the war over? Mei could see the hope and glee in his eyes. It was wiped away when he saw the look on her face. He is still alive. She answered, we were only able to hold him off long enough for someone to save Ao, Chojuro and you. We see. Was his only response. How do you feel? She asked, changing the subject. Menma stood and stretched out his kinks. He was at full health. One of the things about being a Jinchuriki, a great healing factor. Great. Menma answered. We'll be leaving now. What? Mei more screamed then asked. What? Menma yelled, taking a defensive position. This is not good. Mei thought with dread. Mei had thought that the boy was going to fight in the wars with them, to help end it. She had seen what he could do. He was powerful. With a little grudge, she would admit he was more powerful than her. They needed him to fight for them, with them. Menma looked at the lady who suddenly went deep into thought. He could feel a sudden wave of dread roll off her. Not just her, he could feel it from the two standing behind her. Mei-chan, what's wrong? He asked, adding the suffix without notice. I thought you were going to fight with us, she admitted. Menma now understood her meaning. He felt like an ass. No, we must keep going. He answered, we need to continue our own goals. But Menma, you would be a great asset for the rebellion. She pleaded, we are on a losing side of a genocide. She grabbed and pulled him close. With your help, we can save hundreds of thousands of lives. From now to generations to come, we're sorry. Menma sighed, but the answer is no. Why won't you aid us? Chojuro asked. Simple, and please forgive our answer. Menma spoke, hoping not to offend them. There is little in it for us. You little shit! Ao shouted in outrage. Back in my day, shinobi had a thing called loyalty and duty. He grabbed Menma by the shoulders and slammed him into the walls. Do you think you're too special to aid us? Menma snapped open into a fierce glare. He grabbed Ao by both of his wrists and squeezed. Corruption body. The dark chakra began to slowly spread across Ao's arms. They were causing him an agony he had never felt in his life. He tried to pull back, but the child never let go. Listen here, you need us, we don't need you. Menma growled out, so tell us, why should we aid a village that couldn't protect itself? Especially with a man who can't accept that his day has passed. If it's so bad, why not leave? Any village will take in a bloodline. He tightened his grip on Ao. Tell us, it's our home. Ao shouted over the pain. That's enough. Chojuro spoke, weapon drawn. Menma let him go. He didn't want to become enemies of the rebellion. He pulled the darkness back into himself. Please, Menma-kun. Mei spoke softly. Is there nothing we can offer to change your mind? The question caused Menma's mind to start racing a mile a minute. This was his chance to get something useful. First things first. He needed to be sure. You still refuse to teach us the lava style? He asked. He could see the strain on Mei's face as she had an inner struggle. It was a battle of her love for her family and her duty to her followers. Eventually she came to a decision. One side won. Yes, I refuse. She spoke, straightening up. I would rather see my clan fade away with silent dignity than to be lost along with its respect. Menma looked at the lady with growing respect. He involuntarily grabbed his necklace as he had his own inner debate. You'd hate me if I turned down their need for help, wouldn't you, Mito? He though, as he mentally kicked himself. After all, our brother is a bloodline user. Fine. He spoke, we will aid you. What's the C catch? Ao asked as the pain continued to flare up. Smart man. Menma spoke, we want compensation. Like what? Mei asked with mixed feelings. We can't offer you much money. We'll be broke after the war. Not money. Menma spoke, we want 3 things. Mei took a deep breath as she prepared for the worst. Begin. We want a headband. Menma spoke, shocking them. You want to become a Kirinin? Mei asked with growing happiness. Yes and no. Menma answered, we want a place here to return to if the need arises, for us and a few others. A precaution for the future, if you will. He gave Mei a deadlock stare. I'm asking for asylum. That was a vague statement. It couldn't help but raise a few eyebrows. What are you planning? Ao asked, what are your goals? It was a question that all of them never knew they wanted the answer to. Menma only chuckled as he wagged his fingers at them. One of the universal signs for no, he wasn't going to tell. We want 10 Kirijutsu, no matter the rank or clan. He cut Mei off before she could protest. We won't take from clans with living members, understand? They did. He wanted jutsu from dead clans. There could be no problems from the dead. With a bit of reluctance, she nodded. What's the final price? Akage's favor. He answered, whenever we call it in, we want it. Mei was a little reluctant to agree to the last one, more so than the others. It was for a good reason as well. Akage's favor was their word. To break it would put the entire village in a bad light. Agreed. She finally spoke. I'll have a contract written up. Mei-sama, I beg you to reconsider. Ao protested. This favor could go as far as war. He stated, you must understand that. Of course I do. She spoke too sweetly. Do you think I don't understand the situation we're in? Back me up, Chojuro. Ao pleaded. All eyes turned to the nervous boy. He just shook his head. He wanted no part in this. I can't believe this. He whined, I may be old, but I'm not so old that I will be muscled by a child. This may be what he said, but not what Mei heard. I old so old child. She heard as he saying, I'm too old to have children. She made her way behind the man. Ao. She growled, shut up, or I'll kill you. It think I'll go write up the contract. He whimpered as he practically crawled away. She turned her eyes towards Chojuro. Leave us, I have things I need to discuss. The young swordsman was happy to leave. Mei turned her attention to Menma. From the look in her eyes, he knew it would be serious. Menma-kun. She started in all seriousness, am I pretty? The child did a faceplant that would rival an adult's. What kind of? Answer me. She snapped. Why yes. He answered. Are all women this scary? Good. She cheered. I need you. She spoke seriously as she rubbed his face. You have something in you, something I want. She leaned in closer. I need it, Menma-kun. I crave it. We need an adult. I am an adult. She replied, and a lonely one. What now, Menma-kun? She began sadly, I am the last Arimi, the last of both my clans. I don't want my family to die out. Menma looked at the woman, she was near hysterics. It was partially his fault, he had brought up her decision. From the way she was talking, she was asking for one thing. We're only 9. Menma stated, but you posse's the lava style. She stated happily, our children could keep my clans alive. We're only 9, I can wait a while. She explained, I'm not ready just yet, I have a life to live as well. She smiled, I don't just want kids, I want a family. This confused Menma. What's the difference? It took May a moment to remember something important. He was only 9. He acted as if he were a young adult. Menma. She spoke slowly, I want to write up a marriage contract between us. She cut him off. It wouldn't be in effect until you were 16. She reasoned. She cut him off again. You may also take on any woman you want. She desperately added. A harem as big as you want. We accept. He shouted before she could cut him off again. Also wait, what? She was shocked, he agreed. Why? You are a strong woman who cares for her people. Menma answered, making her blush, that, along with the fact you're just plain beautiful. He gave her a kind smile. How could we not fall for you? Loving you shouldn't be too hard. All of the other offers will stay in effect. She added. Plus, she nearly shouted, if we are married, my clan style will be accessible to you. We thank you? He added, we'll want a big family. He looked her in the eyes, you had us at contract. May stared at the boy before her. He was a gift from the heavens. He was capable of using the lava style to its truest name. He cared about other people, not just his own selfish goals. He was just plain adorable. She grabbed the boy and raised him to eyes level. Then let's seal it with a kiss. When Ao and Chojuro returned, they saw a hilarious sight. May was reapply her lipstick. Menma had a goofy smile and a faraway look on his face. That and several kiss marks covering 80% of his face. She finally noticed their return. Chojuro. She called, I want you to train Menmakuin in the 7 swordsman style. Wait a second. Ao spoke only to be ignored. What's wrong with the style I have? Menma asked. It was atrocious. May answered, no husband of mine will look that bad. It wasn't that bad. He whined. It was. Wait a second. Ao tried again. Ao, I want you to write up a marriage contract. May ordered. Wait a second. Yes, Ao, is there something you want to say? She asked too sweetly. The scary part is it was sweeter than any other time. What do you want the contract to say? Yoguro was sitting in his office, letting his wounds heal. That filthy blooded bitch. He growled. She had returned with reinforcements. He hadn't expected that. He thought she would have been smart and hid away behind her pathetic army. She didn't. Instead, she returned and attacked him when he wasn't looking. Then her people swarmed him and forced him to retreat. One man, even a Kage, couldn't fight a swarm of bloodline users. Now he was licking his wounds. It made him look bad as Mizukage. Something like that wouldn't have been too difficult if the standby had cooperated. Unfortunately, the beast wanted to be difficult. It had been acting like that ever since he started the rebellion. Work faster, turtle. He ordered. This was an instance of the beast's defiance. There was a time that a wound like this would have been healed hours ago. Now the beast was taking its sweet time. They made one fatal mistake. He thought cruelly. Now that he was familiar with the Zero Tails chakra, he could use the sandbite to find it. If he found the boy, he would find the rebellion's base of operation, and finally end this war. He thought. Work faster, okay Menmakuin. May spoke, let's begin your training. There is a faster way. Menma spoke, we could learn everything you could teach us in a matter of seconds, if you agree. The thought of him learning it all appealed to her. Save more time for business. But his wording at the end of the statement caught her attention. Why wouldn't I agree, Menmakuin? She asked. Menma looked at the woman before him, his wife-to-be. If I can't trust her, who can I trust? He thought. He wanted no secrets in a relationship. Tell us, Mei-chan. Menma began, what do you know of the 9-tailed beasts and the 0-tailed leech? Menma began telling her of his plan, his goals. He didn't give her the names of his family, village, or even his real name. He just told her the basis of it all. He was doing it to protect his little sister and make his father pay. Menma didn't tell her everything. He didn't want secrets between them, but some would be needed. To her, he would just be Menma. Wow. Was all she said? I agree. A voice spoke. They both turned their heads to see both Ao and Chojuro. Menma didn't know what to do. His biggest secrets were out to them. He should just. It's okay, Menmakuin. May spoke, these two have been with me since the beginning. I trust them with my life. Well, okay. So you can just learn anything? Chojuro asked in fascination. Yes and no. Menma answered, we can only learn the stuff we're taking. We can't take what's not there. He explained, then we need to actually be able to perform the tasks. Then why didn't you take the lava-style information when you had the chance? Ao asked. We aren't going to do things that way. Menma asked, when we look at our accomplishments, we don't want any regrets. We don't want our sister to be ashamed. May looked at the boy in front of her. I chose right. She thought. Okay, I'll ask the question. Ao spoke, how do we know any of this is true? He asked skeptically, he could just be a bloodline user, ashamed of what he is. Want to meet Zero? Menma asked. Why you can do that? Chojuro asked. A purple slime substance began to coat Menma's arms. From the slime formed 3 tendrils. Each tendril made its way into each of the adult's mind. When they regained consciousness inside of Menma's mindscape, they were shocked. What's going on? Chojuro asked, too scared to be nervous. Wait a second, we are inside the lair of the Zero Tails. Menma answered. Then where is this Zero Tails? Ao asked. I am here. A voice answered. And I prefer being called a chibi. They turned as one to the voice. That's a giant cocoon. What did I just say? The cocoon spoke again. Everyone, I'd like you all to meet the former Zero Tails. Menma spoke. A tendril moved from the cocoon and made its way towards the humans. It ignored Menma and Ao as they focused on the others. It began to hold their bodies and gently caress their faces. I think I like him, Menma-kun. Mei purred. Thank you? It spoke before focusing on Chojuro. I can feel I can taste your innocence. I need an adult. Chojuro cried. Enough of the low-grade hentai. Ao spoke. Why are we here? Menma doesn't want me to take the knowledge you have. It spoke. He wants you all to give it to him. Back in my day, shinobi didn't ask for things. Ao chastised. We took it. Well, you asked for it. Menma spoke as he gave a subtle nod to the tentacles. A tentacle lodged itself deep into the base of his neck. The man felt as if a part of himself was being stolen. It wasn't over soon enough. What about you two? Menma asked. Can we have the knowledge? Sure. Mei answered. Be gentle. Chojuro begged. Unlike with Ao, the tentacles crawled into their necks instead of rushing. They felt a subtle pull on the back of their mind, like a buzzing in their ear. It wasn't what Ao presented. Why aren't they hurt? Said man asked. The knowledge was gently pulled from them. What about me? The info was tore the fuck out. Menma answered. Old school enough for you? That's not fair. Ao stated. What did you take from me anyway? I took the basics from you, chakra control and standard jutsus. Rabi answered. I felt it would be useful for Menma. You know, instead of flailing around and wasting all that power. Hey, I think I like him. Ao spoke. So now Menma-kun knows the lava style and 7 swordsman technique? Mei asked. Yes. Rabi answered. I will just need time to augment his body to the adjustments. It turned its attention to Menma. Remember my warning, Menma. You have power and skill, but you lack their experience. They looked at the boy beside them. Only 9 years old, and he was stronger than them. How do I leave? Chojuro asked. A force pushed all 3 of them out, leaving only Menma and the cocoon. I have something for you, Menma. Zero spoke. A gift? He asked excitedly. What is it? He repeated the question over and over again while jumping. This reminded the demon that he was still dealing with a child. A weapon, sword actually. Zero answered. It belonged to the sage of the 6 paths himself. Menma watched as the darkness began to mold itself just as the malleable chakra did. The weapon was pure black, seeing as it was made of darkness. It was in the shape of a double helix. There was no handle or guard, just a smaller helix at the end. The funny part was the sword was the same size as Menma was. This Menma is the sword of Nunaboko. Rabi spoke. I've never seen anything like this. Menma spoke. And you never will. It stated. This sword is capable of amazing feats. Like what? It's capable of working as a sword, staff and whip, even a spear if you don't like it as those other choices. It continued that way. You won't have limited abilities to your situation, you can even change its size. Amazing. That's not all. Zero bragged. I warn you now, this sword is reinforced by your very will. The stronger your will is, the harder or sharper the blade is. Cool, I know, now leave. Zero ordered. Menma awoke with a start. That's starting to piss us off. Menma growled. What is? Mei asked. Zero kicked us out of our own mind. Yeah, that's bad, but I have worse news. Ao spoke. What? Menma asked. Yagura is heading this way with an army. Ao screamed. The turtle had finally finished its job of healing Yagura. As soon as the Mizukage was at full health, he raised an army. He spoke to them with conviction, stirring up their hate and fear. He did so with one purpose, ending the war in a final battle. Soon you filthy abominations will be purged from these lands. He thought. It was time. How long until he arrives? Mei asked. Not long enough. Ao answered. We aren't prepared. We can do this. Mei spoke with confidence. We have help of our own. They turned to look at Menma, only to see an empty spot. Where is he? Chojuro asked. They frantically searched around and saw nothing. The only hint that he was ever there was a wisp of the dark smoke. He got what he wanted. Ao growled. Now he's abandoned us. The words allowed the dreaded despair to sink into their hearts. Their ace in the hole was gone. What will we do now? Chojuro asked. Everyone turned to Mei for an answer. Whatever her next decision was would decide the fate of Kiri. She looked at the people that trusted her with their lives. Each day that trust is taken to its limits through fear and anger. It was time to prove that their trust was placed in the right woman's hands. I'll fight, she answered. But we put our hopes in Menma. That's why I will fight. She clarified. I put our hopes in him, in a child. I expected a 9-year-old boy to end a war. She sighed. If he's smart, he'll have taken the knowledge he wanted and left, or joined Yagura. Ao mumbled. Ao, just shut up. She sighed. There was no threats of death this time. She was too low for one. If they looked closely enough, they would see how hurt she was. Mei had just betrayed her clan for a near impossible hope. Put her hopes into something she shouldn't have. Now my people will be wiped out, she thought. All because of me. She'd never felt so low. Nothing we can do about it. Ao spoke. I'll prepare the troops. No. Mei spoke firmly. I will fight Yugura alone. What? That's insane. Ao spoke. You can't kill him alone. He had an army at his back. I know. She agreed, but I can buy the rebellion enough time. Enough tea time for what? Chojuro asked. To escape. But, Ao, you're now in charge of the rebellion. She spoke. Someone like you should have no trouble being a leader. Without any more words to say, she left the bunker. Menma hadn't abandoned them. The thought had never passed his mind. Well, it did. He crushed it instantly. He just went to get some needed help. He had used the shadows as a form of transportation to get to where he needed. Mei stood on top of their base. It stood nearly 50 stories high at the edge of the village, right under Yugura's nose. She could see them in the distance, or what they let her see. In the distance was an unnatural mist, the largest that she had ever seen. In front of the mist, and clear as day, was the Mizukage. Fitting, she thought. They were the village hidden in the mist. They were born in the mist, and they fought in the mist. Today she intended to die in the mist. I'll melt as many of those hateful bastards as I can, she thought. She felt a second presence join her on top of the bunker. Chojuro, what are you doing here? She asked. I'm here to fight with you, he answered firmly. Mei was shocked at his manner of speech. This wasn't the shy boy that believed in her cause. This was the man she saw worthy of the Seven Swordsman title. Now I remember why I gave him that sword, she thought happily. He worthy of it. Rebellion! Yugura called. Today we end this farce of a war. I agree, Mei called back. Then where is your army? Yugura asked. We will be your opponents. Chojuro called. The rebellion thought it would be too unfair to fight against you normal people. He taunted. The two of us should make it a fair match. Wow, Chojuro. Mei was impressed. Then I will be your opponent, Yugura called, ordering his army to stop. I will end this. Menma had what he needed. It would help in the final battle of the rebellion. We just hope we make it back in time, he thought. Yugura began walking towards the bunker. He moved into a jog and then a run. A single tail manifested itself behind them. It wasn't a tail of chakra, but the physical tail of the three tails. All of its power, none of its wasted power. The distance began to close rapidly. Now, Mei thought, lava style, scorching rocks jutsu. She fired the lava into the distance. It hardened into a ball of magma. It traveled towards the Mizukage with Mei's full speed and strength. Pathetic, Yugura mumbled. The Mizukage raised his staff and knocked the flaming rock away. Several times Mei repeated the process. Each time Yugura either destroyed them or jumped out of the way. When the distance had finally been closed, Yugura leaped onto the bunker. He stood on the opposite side of the roof. I don't sense the boy, he spoke, or anyone else. Mei and Chojuro stayed silent. I see, they've abandoned you. Chojuro charged Yugura with his sword in its base form. Yugura simply raised his staff to block. This left the Mizukage open. Before either of them could attack, a kunai with an explosive tag landed onto the roof. It went off, separating the two without either. They turned to see the attacker. It was Ao. Behind him was the entire rebellion. Ao, I ordered you to leave, Mei yelled. I know, but the soldiers didn't want to. Ao explained. Back in my day, a shinobi followed their leader's order without question. He drew a kunai. Good thing we aren't in my day anymore. Mei couldn't pretend to be angry with him. She let her smile show. On one side of the base was the Bloodline Rebellion. They consisted of the last of the Seven Swords, and an army of Bloodline users. On the other side were the Mizukage and his soldiers. They consisted of the Three-Tailed Turtle and an army 5 times larger than the rebellion. Neither side moved. They were waiting for a sign to attack. Be it direct orders, or a show of weakness from the enemy side. Attack! Someone yelled, and the final fight began. Below the base was the battle, but on top was the war. The war is what will decide the fate of the village hidden in the mist. It will decide if the Bloodline users can live in their own homes, or die for it. It could be done in either hours, or minutes, even seconds. Let's end this, Mei spoke. Gladly, the Mizukage made the first move. Water style, water hydra jutsu. By drawing water from the mist, Yugura was able to coat his entire body in water. From the coat of water rose a single dragon's head. Your move, he spoke. Mei fired a glob of lava at the young man, just as a tester. The water hydra moved itself directly in front of the upcoming attack. It destroyed the water creature's head, but the attack itself was rendered useless. From the coat of water rose 2 more heads. I guess it really keeps up to its name, Ao spoke. Yugura began his next attack. Water style, blowfish poison. The Mizukage's cheeks began to expand as his attack prepared itself. He spat out a wad of greenish liquid. It flew towards Mei with alarming accuracy. Hiramakari unleashing, long sword. Chojuro was able to place his sword in front of the attack before it connected to Mei. They noticed that as it dripped to the ground, it began to steam. Poison, they all thought. They made the mistake of taking their eyes off of the Mizukage. The Hydra heads charged forward, crashing into both Chojuro and Ao. They couldn't resist the force as it pushed them to the edge of the base. Yugura took his eyes off of Mei. Lava style, lava monster jutsu. Mei released a large amount of lava from her mouth, which spread into a broad, thin sheet as it travels through the air. Since it was shot upwards in an arc so as to descend onto the targets from above, it prevents the intended individuals from jumping up to avoid the attack. That meant Yugura had to take the attack head-on. When the lava connected with the water, it hardened. This created a container-like prison for the Mizukage. Mei spat the leftover lava from her mouth to the ground. Is it over? Chojuro asked. No. Ao answered. With the Byakugan in his eye, he could see that Yugura was unharmed. Not only that, he was gathering a massive amount of chakra. The Sanbai's chakra. With a flare of the chakra, he was able to free himself from the magma prison. Said chakra was potent enough to not only free him, but pause the battle below. Everyone was able to feel the demonic chakra surging through the Mizukage. He had released a second tail. This war is over. Yugura spoke surrender, and I'll allow your people a quick death, and you can live the rest of your life as a slave. He offered you could be my personal pet, though you would have to be spayed. We can't have you breeding, might start a second war. Mei turned her attention to the rebellion down below her. They watched her critically. They were judging her, to see if she was truly worthy of being their leader. Even if I stray from my path as a leader, even if I stray from my path as a woman. She spoke out. I could never stray from my basic humanity. She yelled defiantly. That is the difference between us. If my brethren and I are to fall, we will fall together. Clinging to our freedom, to our hope and watching it bloom. The soldier heard the words of their leader. She was worthy. Yugura looked down in disgust at the bloodline user. They were continuing the battle with a new frenzy. I hope you enjoyed your speech. Yugura growled because you all will die together. He raised his trusty staff and swung at her. The speed he reached and the power he was using was above her. Ao and Chojuro were too far away to aid her. There was no way she could dodge or block, so she closed her eyes. Mei had two regrets. She couldn't free her people. And Menma, keep your hands off of our fiancé. Menma ordered. Mei's eyes snapped open at the voice. Menma stood between Mei and Yugura's weapon. He was blocking it with his foot, which seemed to be made out of darkness. So you've returned. Yugura stated far too late. Menma. She whispered in awe. You came back. Corruption. Yugura watched as his staff withered away in his very hands. Before he could say or do anything, Menma's foot turned from darkness to lava. Lava style, great eruption. Menma's lava leg did just as the name suggested, it erupted. The magnitude of the attack pushed the Mizukage back and earned a scream of pain. We are sorry, Mei-chan. Menma spoke. We weren't able to fully keep our end of the deal. You're here now. She spoke. You're keeping it just fine. Not that. He stated. We promised to only take 10 jutsu from dead clans. He gave a fake apologetic smile. We ended up stealing 10 from the Mizukage's army. I'll forgive you if you can help me kill this man. She spoke. Shall we seal it with a kiss? He asked cheekily. They would have if Yugura hadn't interrupted with his chakra. He had shifted from manifest tails to the chakra cloak. His wounds were healing before their eyes. So you still side with those filth? He stated. Too bad. Get behind us, Mei-chan. Menma ordered. You can't beat him on your own. Mei protested. Menma only smiled. We aren't on our own, we have inside help. Mei didn't understand what he meant, but she trusted him. He did come back to help fight in a war. Menma began to focus as he prepared for his final battle with Yugura. He reached for his necklace. On it was a miniature sword of Ninaboko. He was grateful for his size-changing capabilities. He released it to its full size. That's a strange weapon. Chojuro spoke. Have you seen the 7 swords? Ao asked. Cause one is a hammer, and the other is a sewing needle. Point taken. Mei saw as Menma ran forward that he was different than before. He possessed skill and grace that easily matched with Chojuro's. Menma brought the sword down on Yugura. The Mizukage was able to bring his cloaked arm up to defend. Even so, the discomfort was obvious on his face. He swung his defending claw out, knocking Menma back. The Mizukage then began swing his clawed arms at Menma. He had no choice but to keep his distance. Menma swung again, harder than before. Just like the last time, the blow connected. This difference was Yugura had a smirk on his face. He sidestepped and placed a hand Menma, pushing him off the edge. As Menma fell off the roof, he turned himself around. He saw Yugura trailing behind him. The Mizukage caught up to him and wrapped a hand around the child's neck. Kid, you're a fool. He growled. We've done this dance, I won. Menma could do nothing more than gasp in pain. The pressure of the hand holding his neck and lack of oxygen was a lot to bear. Yugura pulled his hand back, never letting go, and threw the falling boy. Menma landed in the ground with a loud thud. He barely had time to stand up and backstep from the falling Kage. He didn't have time to dodge the tail swipe. The blow really showed how powerful a tail beast was. With just a glancing swipe, it was able to send Menma into the heart of the army. Unfortunately for him, it was Yugura's half. Mei watched in horror as they swarmed her fiancé. Now do you see that it's all futile? The Mizukage asked. Your only hope of defeating is now dead. Not all of our hope. Mei thought defiantly. Their attention was captured by a large and deep noise. They turned to see molten rocks erupt high into the sky, drawing everyone's attention. When it was over, there was a crater of magma in the center of the army. The magma began to bubble over as it started rising. In a terrifying instance, a dragon head made entirely of the substance rose. It was sloppy and only half-formed, spilling onto the army. Whether it was intentional or not would never be known. The magma beast began a direct course for Yugura. On its head was Menma. "Look out, we're bringing the heat!" he shouted. "Stop, you'll hit the rebellion!" Mei shouted in fear. Her shout reached Menma and shocked him. He had thought about that. He had gotten so into his fight that everything else was just background noise. This caused him to lose control of the beast. It continued on its path of destruction. "Damn, need to stop it!" Mei began sealing. Water style, water pillar jutsu, a defensive technique where chakra needed inside her body is converted into water, and then expelled from the mouth in a dense, curved torrent, effectively creating a near-instantaneous circular barricade that can be used to intercept incoming attacks. This technique is strong enough to not only consume Menma's lava beast, but stop it as well. The child collided with Mei once his beast was destroyed. That was completely reckless. Mei chastised. "What do you want from us?" Menma asked. "We're only 9 years old." "Yeah, 9 and with the power of a tailed beast." "Enough of this!" Yugura roared as he appeared behind the two. Menma was just barely able to push Mei out of the way as the mad Kage arrived. He sidestepped the first attack, even the second. The third time he attacked back, their fists connected. "What's going on?" Yugura asked. He looked around only to see that he was inside his seal. "Did the turtle bring me here?" he guessed. "What are you doing here, Zero?" said Turtle asked. "Hello, Sanbai." Menma greeted, ignoring the question, "What is your name?" This question took the demon off guard. "What are you planning?" Menma raised a fist to the beast. The beast knew the meaning of this gesture and complied. "What's going on?" Yugura asked again, and again he was ignore Sanbai destroy him. Instead of that, the Sanbai just retracted its claw. "I see, my name is Isabu," it answered. "Use it well, we will." "Enough, I will not be ignored in my own mind." Yugura charged the two, already forming hand signs. Whatever he was planning stopped along with him. "I can't move," he thought in fear. "We see you're feeling it." Menma spoke. "What did why you do?" he forced out. "Not us." Menma answered. "You can thank both Mei and Orochimaru." Menma jumped onto the Sanbai's prison. Corruption. Same time outside. Mei looked at the two demon hosts before her. They were locked in a trance-like state with their fists connected. Mei looked at the bottle in her hands. It contained large white pills. Menma had given it to her when he pushed her out of the way of the demonic Yugura. "What am I supposed to do with these?" She strained for an answer. "What are those?" Chojuro asked. "Don't know," she answered. "What do you think they're for?" Ao asked. "Don't know." She opened the bottle and took a pill out. Ao used the Byakugan to examine it. He couldn't figure out what was special about them, or what they did. "Should we eat one?" Chojuro asked. "I don't think so," Mei answered. "Why?" She held a piece of paper from the bottle. "This note says do not eat, or else." "What else does it say?" "Do not feed it to us?" She read, "I think we feed them to Yugura." They turned their attention to the man clad in a demonic cloak. "Just touching it can cause a painful experience." I think not it," the woman shouted. "Not it!" Chojuro exclaimed. "Not I damn. Ao, I thank you for the service you do for your people." Mei spoke sweetly. Ao slowly made his way towards the not-so-vulnerable Kage. "Look!" Chojuro spoke. They saw that Yugura's chakra cloak was beginning to fade. Soon there was nothing to protect him. He was completely vulnerable. "This our chance!" Ao shouted. Chojuro cut his head off. "No. Mei stop. Menma is trusting us with these pills for a reason. He should trust his decision." "Why should we?" Ao asked in shock. "We can end this now." Mei simply walked towards him and took the pills from him. She then gave him a sweet smile. Not her too sweet and threatening smile, but an honest one. She looked him in the eyes as she answered. "He came back," she whispered. Ao stood aside as his leader placed a single pill inside Yugura's mouth. "What he did why you do to me?" Yugura strained to ask. "Mei has placed a pill inside of you," Menma answered. "A D-drug?" Yugura figured. "These special pills were developed by Orochimaru." Menma began explaining. "Once ingested, these pills will cast a genjutsu on the target that paralyzes the body. The drugs also affect the target's mind to such degree that even their tenants will feel it. It forced even the Hachibi into a frenzy. What chance did the Sanbai have?" Menma turned to the turtle. "No offense, none taken. Sanbai, you should have kept the sea cloak on, stiopping it." "I normally would have," Isabu stated. "But the child has given me an offer I couldn't refuse." "What offer?" "My freedom," he answered, "as well as yours." There was nothing more to say as the rug took effect. Menma pulled his fist back as the Mizukage began to convulse. The Sanbai's chakra began to flare so wildly that his host's mind began to break apart. Menma just watched as the mind of the figure before him changed. "What's happening?" Ao asked. "The war is ending," Menma answered. The child placed a hand onto Yugura's chest and held a second one to Mei. She took it without hesitation. The three of them disappeared in a dark body flicker. They arrived at a lake that led to an ocean. Yugura continued to convulse in pain. They watched as it all came to a sudden stop. I remember, Yugura whispered. He looked towards the two people who ended the war. A child with a demon and a woman with a goal. The Sanbai's cloak-like chakra began to form onto him, tearing his skin. Thank you? Yugura spoke, tears in his eyes. What's happening? Mei asked. Yugura never started this bloodline war. He was being controlled by a powerful genjutsu that made him think he honestly hated your kind. Menma explained, now the genjutsu is broken, then you can fix everything. Mei cheered, everything can return to normal. No. Yugura stated, he's still there, he's waiting to take control again. He sighed, I can't get rid of him. The Sanbai's chakra began increasing, he made me into a monster, but you have control for now. Menma hinted, that's right. Yugura agreed, my flesh, my mind, my heart. He gave in to the Sanbai, time to die, like a man. They watched as the man experienced his last act of freedom. He had a smile. The man was gone. The Sanbai was free. We need to get back. Mei spoke. She had just watched the Sanbai bump fist/claw with Menma. Apparently the two of them had an understanding. Now the turtle was leaving. Yes. He pulled her into a hug and they disappeared in another body flicker. They arrived back onto the base to see that nothing had changed. The armies were still fighting with everything they had. Why haven't they stopped? Mei asked. The war is over. They're consumed by their own bloodlust. Ao answered, their hate is blinding them. We can work with hate. Menma spoke. He went still, literally pulling all of the hate and fear of both armies into him. Menma had to admit, it felt good. He pulled so much at once that the soldiers stopped in confusion. The power war gave him was like nothing he ever felt. Menma. Zero called in warning. Power corrupts, don't worry. Menma returned, we're in control. He began to change the hate he had taken. Not into power, but into another negative emotion. He changed it into overwhelming guilt and shame. He sent out every bit he had taken from the army. The soldiers looked at themselves and those around them. They couldn't believe the carnage that lay around them. They couldn't believe that they helped create it. Menma stepped forward. Citizens of Kiri! He shouted at the top of his lungs. The war is over. The rebellion has won. He cheered. He sucked the fear and hate from the Mizuki's army before it started. Now is the time for change, the time for peace. He pointed to Mei. Long live your new Mizuki! Long live Mei Terumi! The soldiers on both sides did something neither expected. They hugged their enemy and cheered. Say something to your people. Menma pushed. Mei stepped forward and looked at the people, her people. When she spoke, it was in a low and easy tone. It carried to the ears and hearts of both sides. The age of the village of the bloody mist. She called is over. Menma looked at the village of the mist. It had changed greatly over the last many months. No one hid who or what they were, some actually flaunted it. People were a lot friendlier to each other. He could feel the positive emotions growing. Too bad we can't get stronger from that, he thought. It didn't mean that people forgot about the massacres, far from. They were just doing their best to keep that fire out. Each action they took felt like a spark. It helped that Menma fed off their negative emotions before something awful could start. Menma had become something of an icon to the villagers. The boy who ended the reign of Yugura, a hero. He may have been offered the title Mizuki if he hadn't been so young. He sighed as he looked over the village again. He helped create something, a new era. Menma had changed as well. The former 9-year-old was now 10 and still growing. You wanted to see us, Mei-chan? Menma asked. Menma looked at his fiancée, the 5th Mizuki. She had taken to the job like a natural. It proved she was the right choice. Yes, I wanted to talk to you about the tailed beast. She spoke the Sanbai. Isabu. Menma corrected. The Isabu and his standing with the village. She spoke. The council started up again. Ever since the council found out about the Sanbai being released, they threw a fit. They felt that the village had been weakened by the loss of their weapon. This angered Menma beyond anything Mei had ever seen. She didn't know that he was thinking of his sister. They made demands for a new host, for a better Yugura. It wasn't until Menma threatened to use his Kage favor to disband them that they relented. The council wants their weapons back. She sighed. She then gave him a shit-eating grin. They're willing to give in to your demands. Menma demanded that the council give the tailed beast freedom from being sealed away. That they be allowed to roam around the water country without being haunted. In exchange, the tailed beast would protect the place that had given them asylum. Good, we'll tell Isabu immediately. Menma spoke. Before you go, I have a mission for you. She spoke, all business. Involving the 6 tails. What? She smiled again. It's done. Menma was in the assigned waiting spot. It was just on the border of mist. It was considered a good spot for deals. What took you so long? Menma suddenly asked. I was making sure that the area was secure. A voice answered. I had to make sure. You don't trust the words of the new Mizuki? Menma asked. They sent a child to do their negotiations. I deserve to be skeptical. He replied. Plus, my tenant has warned me of you. Menma turned to look at his acquaintance. His name was Utakata, the host of the 6-tailed slug. Utakata was a tall, thin young man with pale golden eyes and brown hair that reaches to his shoulders. In the manga, his eyes were very narrow, but still of a typical size. His side parting let a large portion of his bangs cover the left side of his face. He wore a long, light blue kimono adorned with a small emblem of 3 bubbles on the back, and a pair of gray pants underneath, with an orange sash. The kimono hung loose, exposing his chest. In it, he carried a bamboo jug filled with a soap solution and a pipe. Let's begin. Menma started. The new Mizukichi has decided to offer you a full pardon to return. Even if you refuse, you will no longer be haunted. Then why should I return? He asked suspiciously, and why did you ignore my statement? Menma leaned forward as he answered. What do you know of an organization called Akatsuki? He told his fellow host everything about the group. He told them of what he knew of their plans and members. He even told the host of his own tenant, and a bit about his plans. That's a lot to take in, Yudakata stated. Can I have some time to think on it? We can give you up to 24 hours. Menma answered. Menma decided to spend the 24 hours with the 3 tails. Ever since Yugura's defeat, Menma wanted to get to know the turtle as well as possible. Really? Isabu asked. A full pardon for the 6 tails host? Yep, when we mentioned it to the council, they hated the idea. Menma spoke. Then we reminded them that they needed as much power as they could get. It'll be nice have another demon around. Isabu mentioned. The reason he had been banished in the first place was because of Yugura. Yudakata wouldn't side with the genocide, so the Mizukichi didn't want a stronger demon for competition. We also got the council to agree to the demands. Menma continued proudly. The 3 tails stared at the boy with his single eye. You go to such great lengths for me and my kind. Why? It's the right thing to do. Menma answered. The turtle continued his gaze on the boy a little longer. He held a clawed fist out to the boy. Menma stared at the limb in wonder. You don't have to. Menma spoke. You already gave us your chakra. I'm not giving you chakra. Sanbai spoke. I'm giving you essence. That's what allow you to use our abilities. You still don't. I do. Sanbai answered, cutting in. You freed me from my prison and future ones. You even helped Yugura in the end. Sun saw something in you. I see it too. He explained. He gave you the power of lava. I give you the power of the sea. Menma didn't argue with the turtle. He bumped fist. He felt the power flow into him without restraint. While Sun's lava had a burning passion to it, Isabu's had a relaxed feel. Thank you. Ah, isn't this sweet? A third voice spoke. Menma and Isabu turned to the sound of the voice in shock. Someone had been able to sneak up on them. Menma saw the source of the voice and paled. He was wearing a long, black cloak with red clouds on it. That was the outfit of Akatsuki. It was the man with the spiral mask. The one who controlled Yugura. The one who helped kill the Uchihas. You! Menma shouted, flaring his power. Whoa whoa! He frantically exclaimed. Tobi isn't here to fight. Then what are you here for? Menma snapped. Why are you angry at me? Tobi asked, faking hurt. Tobi is a good boy. A good boy? Menma couldn't believe what he was hearing. You massacred an entire clan. If that eye's real, then it means your clan. Menma shouted. We then find out that you sent an entire village into a civil war by controlling their kage. Tobi, you're a bad boy. You know what Tobi has to say to all of that? He asked happily. What? He watched as Tobi raised his hands. Instead of attacking, he made a gesture. Oh, Menma felt as if he were going to lose his mind. Enough pleasantries. Tobi spoke in a serious tone. What have you done to my puppet? Menma was taken back by the masked man's sudden change. It reminded him too much of that night they first met, how helpless he was. But now things are different. Menma, though confidently, we freed him. He answered. Well then, the 3 tails is of no use to me for now. Tobi spoke. I'll come back for it later. I'll fight you. Sanbai cried. I see. Well then I'll be on my way. He stated. Why come here in the first place? Menma asked. You could have come for the Sanbai when he was alone. I was just a distraction. Tobi answered, gaining his cheery persona. Do you have any salt? No, why? Menma asked. Well, we're going after a big slug. He answered. Need to put it down. Menma paled at the hidden message. Menma was running as fast as he could. It wasn't fast enough. He was heading straight for the Mizukichi's office. He burst through, startling his fiancée. Menma-kun! Mei shouted. What is going on? We need a squad immediately. Menma spoke. Mei saw the look on his face and knew something was wrong. With the snap of her finger, an entire squad of A and BU appeared. I'm coming with you. She spoke. We also need someone to guard the Sanbai. Ao. Mei called. Understood. With nothing more to say, Menma consumed them A and BU and his fiancée into the darkness. They arrived at the spot that Menma met Yudakata for the meeting. The place now looked like it had been a battlefield. What happened here? Mei asked. Akatsuki? Menma answered. Spread out. Mei ordered. Search for the 6 tails host. Menma had went his own way after the order. He was the lucky one, or unlucky. He found them. He saw the outfit before anything. The figures hadn't turned to look at Menma when he arrived. He counted a total of 6 of them. Then he saw Yudakata on the ground at their feet. The host looked as if he had been on the receiving end of a one-sided war. Who are you? Menma asked. I am Pain. One spoke as he turned to look at Menma. I am God. Menma froze at the name. From Orochimaru's notes, Pain was the leader of the entire organization. Unfortunately, the notes had very little information about the man or his skills. Now, as he looked into Pain's eyes, he understood. The Renningen, the first and most powerful bloodline, and Menma Arun. Utakata weakly spoke. You are Menma? Pain asked. I've heard of you. You are in the way? He raised his hand. You are in the way of peace. Almighty push. Menma felt a sensation wash over him before it vanished. The very trees behind Menma was pushed away by an invisible force, even the roots were torn away. We don't know what you're planning. Menma spoke as his fist became lava, but it won't work. Lava style, great eruption. The attack lived up to its name as it flew to Pain and his colleagues. It was as if a molten river was flying towards them. Without even looking, the cloaked figures jumped. All but one with black and spike piercings in his head. As the lava fell upon him, he absorbed it. It seemed to simply flow around him before fading into him. When it finally stopped, the man looked up with a pair of Renningen eyes. Wah! He looked for the other Akatsuki members, only to see that they had scattered. The only ones he could see were Pain and the absorbing man. It seems that you are full of surprises. Pain stated. No matter. A black rod extended from Menma's chest. The pain from the rod was completely agonizing. It felt as if his body was being destroyed from the inside out. Menma looked behind himself only to see another pair of Renningen. This time in a tall man with long hair. Who are you? Menma asked through the pain. I told you. He answered. I am Pain. Menma was currently impaled into the ground. The ones called Pain had skewered his limbs deep. The invading force never relented. Now then, let's see what you know. Pain spoke. One of the Pains stepped forward and placed a hand on Menma's head. With a tug, he began to pull out an ethereal body. What's going on? He thought as he panicked. Relax as I reach deep and grab hold of what make you you. Pain answered. We need an adult. Relax. Another Pain spoke. I'm only stealing your soul. Pain had to admit he was shocked. The boy was resisting well. He seemed to be doing so unintentionally. Mito, he wanted his last thought to be happy. This very thought caused Pain to stop his actions. You are the brother of the Ninetales host. Pain stated. Menma froze. Pain had knowledge of his sister. No, we won't let you touch her. Menma shouted. He called forth all the darkness he could to surround the area, consuming him as well as the Pains. Only one Pain seemed to be able to push the darkness away. It is useless. Darkness is gravity pulling in the light. Pain explained. I control gravity. What are you? Pain, another asked. A protective big brother. Menma shouted as he began levitating into the air. Swifter than the snow leopards, more fierce than the evening wolves. Fear me, for armored with her love, I possess the strength to fight a god, and a god you do face. Menma raised his arms out to the heavens. Catalysm. The affects were immediate. Mei felt Menma's chakra flare, along with several others. This person wasn't resonating any demonic chakra, but it was just as powerful. This is not good, she thought. She and her entire squad prayed that they arrived on time. Menma laid there in pain of the last attack. His body was too broken to move, and his chakra was spent. He looked at his target. 3 of the Pains was unscathed. 2 of the others had converged around him to protect him. He watched as the one they protected began to revive the other Pains. The main Pain loomed over him. Why do you resist? He asked. We fight so she can go on. Menma answered calmly. We're just a protective big brother. Pain looked at the landscape around him. It was true devastation. Do you know why you failed? He asked. If you're about to say how it's futile to resist a god, you'd better just kill me now. Menma ordered. You lack the pain. Pain stated. Your heart was limited while you were in mist. He gestured to the landscape. This was the resolve you needed. You saw our memories. Menma guessed. Yes, the pain that was protected had finished reviving the others. Now he and the rest stood over Menma. From the air he pulled out a cloak with blue whirlpools. He dropped it onto Menma's broken figure. I know almost everything about you, Menma. Another Pain spoke. I will let you live. Your plan courses with our own. So you want us to join you? Menma asked. You will not. It was a fact, but you too wish to create a world of peace. But you do it for the ones you care for. We will let you continue on. We will have our final showdown at another time. Why not kill us now? I am not Itachi. With nothing more to say, the left. When Menma woke up, he was in the Mizuki's office. Menma-kun. Mei cried. We're okay, Mei. Menma spoke. She saw that he wasn't okay, far from it. The look on his face was the one she had whenever she thought the war would never end. It was the look of helplessness and defeat. I know something that might cheer you up. She thought it's finished. Menma perked up when he heard her say those words. Can we see it? He asked excitedly. Mei smiled. He was returning to his old self. She had to remind herself that he was still a kid. They had short attention spans. She handed him the object. She'll love it, he thought. Plus, I have a second gift to give her. He felt as if he should be thanking Pain. Menma opened a door to a certain room in Kanha. He dropped the gifts inside. Mito walked into her room with a heavy heart. It had been another hard day for her, but she kept smiling. Her brother would want her to be happy. When she looked at her bed, she saw something under her blanket. When she pulled it back, she was amazed. A sword, that's what it was. A katana made from the hardest steel available. It had a blue handle with 3 whirlpool images flowing down the blade. It was attached to a cloak with the same designs. She tried it on. It fit perfectly. There was a note. Dear Mito, I do everything I can to protect you because I love you. I want you to be able to protect yourself because I love you, always thinking of you. Love, Menma. Mito's eyes widened. Who the hell is Menma? Menma's head snapped up. He realized a major error he made. He was currently packing everything he would need into a sealing scroll. That was the sight Mei walked in on. Where are you going? She asked. We've been neglecting our mission. Menma spoke. We need to get back on track. Mei was sad to see him pack. You don't need to leave. She stated you can train and work from Mist. We can't, Mei-chan. Menma spoke sadly. We'd only slow down on our goals. He knew the words had hurt her. He basically called her a distraction. He finished packing without meeting her gaze. He was finished. She stood out of his way as he passed. As he passed her, he whispered. Just 3 tiny words that brought a smile to her face and heart. I love you too. She whispered back. Menma was off to raise hell. But before he could, Orochimaru was making his way away from civilization. He was searching for a person named Menma. The snake had kept tabs on the boy. He and Mei did. The two agreed on one thing. Menma was interesting. They often talked about him while getting drunk. Now he found him. Menma was almost ready. He was just waiting for a signal. He had spent the last year doing the hardest training his body could handle. He was now 11 and a half with 3 tails of power. He even grew nearly an entire foot. His skills had improved nicely thanks to his training. He was proficient in both his ninjutsu and elemental manipulation. Whatever jutsu he learned for one element, he was capable of using for another. His kenjutsu had improved with his sword. He was skilled with a whip, staff, and spear. With the more people he encountered, the stronger he got. While he did his training, he made sure to stay under the radar. When he wasn't doing that, he was making a name for himself. He was now B-rank ninja, known for his raw power and sword skill. He now wore a black no mask, a dark blue-gray robe with gray lining and a fur collar, and a tattered gray-blue cape emblazoned with his personal emblem, a mandala comprised of 10 reddish-brown circles of varying sizes atop a larger green-gray circle. Beneath it, he wore no shirt, fingerless opera-length black gloves wrapped in studded red-brown leather straps, baggy black pants, and red-brown sandals. His outfit wasn't just for show, though it did make him look intimidating. His robe was lined with several different types of seals. Each of these seals had a practical use. There was the standard repair seal, a gravity seal that could increase its weight. His mask carried 2 seals of its own, an A and BU seal that prevents the mask from being removed unless destroyed. The second was a cloaking seal that hid his chakra. There were 2 seals that both these attires carried. The first is a defensive seal that protected him from non-chakra attacks. The second was binding his chakra for later use. He never wore his headbands in the open. He had them both tied around the strap on his waist. They hung like trinkets. There was no need to put those villages in any danger. That didn't mean that Menma had spent his time alone. He had one constant companion, Zero. The leech demon that was evolving into something else. Even Menma didn't know what it was. Menma was busy meditating when he sensed a dark presence. Though it was dark, it was familiar. Menma jumped to the side to avoid a snake that would have devoured him. Before the snake could prepare for a second attack, Menma acted. Repulsion. Just as the name stated, it's a force of pure chakra that repels. This technique can be used for both offense and defense. He had been working on it since Pain mentioned he could use gravity. The blast was only enough to stun the snake, but it was enough to return it home. Menma watched as Orochimaru appeared in front of him. This was their form of greeting, a game between the two of them. The two had become more than partners hoping to kill someone. They had become honest friends, something Orochimaru once thought impossible. I see you aren't surprised I arrived. Orochimaru spoke. How did you know I was here? You have a vile aura. Menma answered. Orochimaru opened his mouth, only to close it. There was nothing he could say to deny that simple truth. I haven't come here for pleasantries, Menma-kun. Orochimaru spoke with a frown. I carry grave information. Apparently Stone and Cloud are trying to create an alliance against Konoha. Orochimaru spoke. They're having a meeting in 3 days' time. What's so bad against that? Menma asked. Think they won't let you join to finish of Minato, or do you just want to do it alone? Minato joked. Or, they have Mito. Orochimaru stated. What? The snake Sannin sighed as he began explaining. Stone kidnapped her and that Tsuchikage plans on using her as a gift to the Raikage. What is Konoha doing to stop them? Menma asked. Nothing. What? Menma roared. Minato believes it's wise to let them think she's a nobody. Orochimaru explained. No one outside of the village knows that she's the Kyuubi's host. She's his daughter. Look at what he's done to his sons. The snake retorted. Menma knew that Orochimaru was correct. Nawaki had become a spoiled child, and Menma was. Let's try from an angle he does care about. Menma sighed. She carries the Kyuubi and the Uzumaki genes. Konoha loses both powerful assets, and he loses face. Orochimaru could only shrug. Even he didn't know what that man was planning. No choice. Menma sighed. You're going after her. Damn right. Well, you'll have to find out where she is on your own. Orochimaru stated. Even I don't know where the meeting is being held. With nothing more to say, the snake-like man began sinking into the ground. Man, he's creepy. Menma thought. Menma was pissed. Konoha was experiencing a peaceful day. That wasn't made him mad. The remaining members of the Namikaze family were currently eating at Ichiraku's ramen stand. It was as if they didn't have a care in the world. As if Mito wasn't in the hands of an enemy nation. Menma was currently standing on top of that very ramen stand. He had been able to sneak in through Konoha's secret barrier and move with the crowd. Menma had to agree with Orochimaru once again. Konoha had become soft with peace. Time to break that peace. He thought. Hello, Namikaze family? Menma greeted. The entire restaurant went on edge when they noticed Menma. Many of the shinobi were reaching for their weapons. No weapons. Menma spoke. It'll only start a conflict. Too many civilians around, don't you think? There were a lot of civilians around. Many looked nervous and others were looking in expectation, waiting to see shinobi in action. Put the weapons away. Minato ordered. With only a slight hesitation they did. Good, now where is Mito? Menma asked. Who are you? Nawaki asked back. Who? Who is but the form following the function of what? And what we are is a man in a mask. Menma answered. I can see that, you baka. Nawaki retorted angrily. Of course you can. Menma stated as if he didn't care. We're not questioning your powers of observation. We're merely remarking upon the paradox of asking a masked man who he is. Nawaki began to turn red in anger and embarrassment. He could hear the people laughing at him, civilian and shinobi alike. No one tells me off. He thought outraged. I'm the son of the Hokage and heir to the Uzumaki Namikaze clans. Nawaki stood and drew a kunai, only to be stopped by Kushina. Why are you looking for Mito? She asked. We're going to save her. Menma answered. Now, tell us where she is. Menma was beginning to lose his patience. Being near them made him angrier than he had been since he left. Why should they tell you anything? A voice asked behind him. Menma turned to see that it was Kakashi Hatake behind him. Another person he hated, one of the Hokage's sheep. Because if they don't, he began. We're going to start destroying Konoha. Wrong answer. Nawaki unleashed a chakra chain that wrapped around Menma. When he tried to tug him, he felt how heavy he was. He couldn't make the masked boy move. His chakra chains were joined by Kushina's. Hold him right there. Kushina ordered. Menma began using his chakra to levitate himself off of the ground. He felt the chains resist, so he grabbed them. Corruption. The chains they wielded began falling to pieces. No more darkness. He thought they'll find out it's me. Lava style, volcanic meteors. Menma's arms began changing into lava, increasing in size. He fired them into the air over and over. They traveled so high that they passed the clouds and left everyone's sight. Was that supposed to do something? Nawaki asked. Tell us where Mito is. He ordered. Your last warning. His answer was a kunai flying towards his face. He quickly caught the object just in time to see that it was one of Minato's. Damn! He thought frantically. He never had a chance to drop it. Minato had already teleported to his location, a Rasengan in hand. The ball of chakra hit Menma directly in his chest. The blow was more powerful and painful than he had anticipated. It forced Menma into a sizable crater of his own. Now, let's start this again. Minato spoke. Who are you? Menma remained silent. Hokage-sama! Hayashi cried. They looked towards the Hyuga clan head to see him pointing up. His Byakugan was activated and many of his clan members followed his example. The usually stoic clan had a look many rarely see, fear. They followed the Hyuga's gaze. At first, nothing could be seen in the sky. Until many small, red twinkles began to appear. They were falling fast. The villagers' faces began matching the Hyuga's. Stop them! Minato ordered. Instead of answering, Menma fired another fist straight up. It was meant for Minato, but he jumped back. The fist just flew high into the sky with the rest. Where is Mito? He asked as he began standing. The civilians will die. Kushina cried. Where is Mito? He asked again. The attack was getting closer by the second. Each one looked as if they could crush an entire building. Not to mention the fact they would probably spill into pools. She's at the border of cloud and stone. Minato answered frantically. Now, stop them. We can't. Menma answered. But you can. How? Menma pointed to his kunai. How did you end the last war? It clicked in a heartbeat. Minato grabbed every last one of his special and threw them into the upcoming fist. Ninja art, shuriken shadow clone jutsu. Each kunai multiplied tenfold as they flew into the air. Each fist collided with several of the kunai at once. Minato then jumped to each one, grabbing them just as the end so the magma wouldn't burn him. He then jumped each one to a safe place he had hidden a large distance from the village. When he finished and returned, Menma was gone. But there was a note in the spot he had been standing. You missed one. No, I. A fist collided with the Hokage monument. It landed directly on his face, leaving the others untouched. Menma was no longer pissed, he was euphoric. He had been able to make the man he hated above all others nearly crap himself. Need to focus. He chastised. He was a day away from the two village borders. Usually he could have moved through the darkness, but he was low on energy. His attack costed him nearly a tael of chakra. The rest he had sealed away by his outfit. He needed to move slow and recover for what he had planned. Menma looked at the village before him. It was on the borders of the two nations and fully packed. This was the perfect place to have a secret meeting, and crash one. Now where to begin? He thought to himself. His question was answered by a blow to the side of his head. The force behind it knocked him into one of the buildings. We've been waiting for you, Menma. A familiar voice spoke. Menma stood up to see that he was surrounded by both IWA and Kumo shinobi, half a dozen each. In the front was a man Menma had never trusted. What are you doing here, Shino? Menma asked. He's here to give us a show. A gruff voice answered. Menma turned his head to see two powerful men, the Rai and Tsuchikage. It seemed that they were already in the building he had been knocked in. Shit! He was trapped. What is all of this about? Menma asked. We're going to restrain you, then we're going to my village. The Tsuchikage answered. And why would we allow you to do that? Menma asked. He does that. Shino spoke. The reason you'll allow us is simple. He smirked. We have Mito. Menma went rigid as he heard the statement. I have Mito. The Tsuchikage spoke. All you have is your words. Of course. Shino agreed. And I'm sure it'll be enough. Menma had been bound as Shino said he would. What none of them knew was Menma had two other sources of power. Thanks to Shino, he had his chakra sealed away. But not the darkness, the first thing he had expected Shino to seal. Not that he would have used it, not if it put Mito in any danger. What are you up to, Shino? He asked himself. As if the man could hear his thoughts, he gave Menma an unpleasant smile. We'll have to use our brains for this. He thought. They had been moving at a quick pace with Menma on the Raikage's back. So why steal Mito? Menma asked. Why not come after us yourself, as if I'm crazy enough to challenge you without a plan? Shino laughed. It was best to lure you out. Is Mito unharmed? Menma asked nervously. She just under a bit of restraint. Shino answered. Nothing else. Has she been touched? Menma asked. Mito Uzumaki Namikaze has not been touched. A Kunoichi spoke. You have my word. Menma looked at the woman who had answered, a Kumo Kunoichi. She was wearing a cat mask, but Menma had the impression that she was a beauty. Thank you? Menma sighed with relief. That actually has me thinking. Shino spoke. What is she to you? I couldn't find that out. And you never will? Menma assured. I dug up all the information I could, but I couldn't find anything. He continued. Other than your hatred for Minato, a man after my own heart. The Tsuchikage chuckled. The rest of the way was in complete silence. Menma noticed how tense the two shinobi sides were. Maybe we can use that. He thought. Where are we going? Menma asked. To IWA. Someone answered. Why IWA? Menma asked. Once there, we will extract what we need from you. Tsuchikage spoke. Why is the Raikage here? Menma asked. My village will gain in Uzumaki, and IWA will gain what? Revenge against the man who decimated our armies. The Tsuchikage declared. What father can live with knowing he failed his child? You have no idea. Menma thought. Don't trust him. Menma whispered to the Raikage. He grunted. When has IWA ever done something without gain? Menma asked. They're always the first to grab the spoils once the work is done. Manipulation doesn't work on a Kage. He growled. Examine the evidence. Menma spoke. You'll see. The Raikage said nothing as his mind began to work against him. Menma had nothing more to say. Speaking too much could cause him to be obvious. What are you going on about, boy? The Tsuchikage demanded. Why do you all need us? Menma asked. You both have what you want. Where do we come in? That would be me. Shino answered. I steal Mito, and they give me you. Any more questions? Why are all of you so open with answers? The shinobi, Kage and underling, paused as they considered the question. Why are we answering him? They asked themselves. The truth was, Menma had been pumping them full of pride. Too much of the pride had caused them to fill with arrogance, which led to overconfidence. We're here. They had arrived to one of the 5 great villages, Iwagakure. The Raikage and the Tsuchikage moved through the village with an air of confidence. They made their way towards the Kage office. Just like the other villages, it was located in the center. Okay, Raikage. The Tsuchikage spoke hand over Menma. Menma noticed how the Raikage gave him a look before speaking. First the Uzumaki. He returned. I want to see that she is in unsullied conditions. The Tsuchikage gave the Raikage a calculating gaze before nodding. With the snap of his hands, he sent a shinobi to fetch Mito. I'm sensing a lack of trust in you. The Tsuchikage spoke. The first 2 Tsuchikage have been known to use underhanded tactics to ensure prosperity for their village, in times of alliances and peace. The Raikage answered. What's to say you're any different? That was simple tactics. The old man snapped. So is making sure that my village get its end of the deal. The large man snapped back. The two were left at a standoff. The shinobi finally returned. He had Mito with him. For the most part, she was unharmed. She was bound in ninja wire and gagged with a cloth. Why is she gagged? Menma asked. She switches between biting and saying curses that make sailors blush. The guard answered. But mostly biting. That's my girl. Menma thought. Menma looked around at the people guarding him. He had 6 cloud shinobi surrounding him, but he was also in the heart of IWA. This won't end well. He thought. He made his way to the prisoner. No one tried to stop him. They thought he was just another harmless prisoner. He pulled her gag out before speaking. Mito. Menma spoke to her. Have they harmed you? The redhead gave him a searching look before shaking her head. They did not. Who the hell are you? She asked. We're the one who will save you. he answered. She gave him a once-over. You don't seem to be doing too well yourself. It's a work in progress, he admitted, a failed work. Shino laughed. Stone tablets began forming themselves under Menma, very familiar tablets. These are the sealing tablets, he thought frantically. What is this Tsuchikage? The Reikage asked. The plan, he answered. We plan on extracting the power in this boy. What do you plan on sealing it into? A vessel strong enough, Shino declared, until a suitable host can be found. The Stone Kage exclaimed. Then I shall take the Uzumaki girl. The Reikage spoke. The Tsuchikage made a subtle hand sign to a kunoichi, lava-style quicklime jutsu. The kunoichi's cheeks inflated as she expelled a large quantity of the substance. It was a direct hit to the Reikage, who had his back turned. Water style, water trumpet. The substance began to harden as the water came in contact with it. Actually, Reikage, Shino spoke, we feel that it would be best if you didn't go anywhere. What are you planning, you fool? The Reikage asked. This wasn't part of the arrangements. I know, but I can't let any blood of that accursed man live. The Stone Kage snarled. Any children you breed from her will have his blood. The Reikage's body began surging with raw lighting chakra. He struggled against the lime prison in vain. No matter how much force he used, it wasn't enough. Pointless. The Earth Kage stated this prison is keeping you from gaining any leverage to break free, he explained. Added to the fact that it's partially Earth chakra, you can't break free. His words were being proved correct as he continued to struggle. The Reikage began to understand that Menma's words were partially true. Instead of greed, the Tsuchikage's hate has caused him to betray a fellow Kage. Kill the bitch, the Tsuchikage ordered. No! Menma forced out. He reached into his robes and grabbed his necklace. On it were two items of great importance. The first Hokage's necklace, and the sage's sword in a shrunken size, the same size as the first's necklace. Menma grabbed the sword. The weapon extended and grew until it was the size of an odachi. Raising the legendary weapon high over his head, he brought it down onto the seals. Since the weapons was just malleable chakra and not darkness, it wasn't absorbed. The seals were broken for a second time. That wasn't part of the plan, Shino grumbled. Neither was this, Menma shouted. He used the weapon as a whip and lashed it towards Mito. It didn't harm her, it just wrapped itself around her and pulled her to his side. Yujito, the Reikage roared. Retrieve her. His attacker came in the form of a kunoichi. She jumped into the air and came down with both her legs. The force behind her stomp caused the ground to shake and dust to kick up. With the dust as a cover, she lunged for Menma. Her nails extended into claws. Menma barely blocked. As soon as she was close enough, Menma felt it. So, another demon container, Menma thought. Good. You are Yujito ni, correct? He asked in their power struggle. Yes, she answered. Menma ducked as she took a swipe at his head with her claws. Aiming his weapon, he extended it. She was too close to block or dodge, so she took the full force of the attack. With great precision, his weapon hit her in a specific pressure point. She fell unconscious. Everyone looked at how he had just easily downed a Jinchuriki. It gave him enough time to prepare one of his most unused attacks. Black hole. A concentrated force of his darkness began to manipulate the gravity. It created a black ball, no larger than a marble. No matter how much power he poured into it, the size stayed unchanged. The same couldn't be said about its weight. In seconds it was becoming too much for the boy, so he dropped it. It created a small crater on impact. The darkness erupted from the crater in a smoke-like substance. It spread out in a black blanket-like form. It began to cover the area in a mile-wide radius. Everyone had no choice but to watch as the buildings began to sink into the darkness. The buildings caved in as they collapsed under the pressure of the pull. What are you doing? The Tsuchikage demanded. We are using the power of gravity to destroy your village, Menma calmly answered. Stop this at once, he demanded. The pulling stopped. All eyes fell on Menma. Free Mito, he ordered. Then we will spare your village. No, he stated. I will have my revenge. The pulling continued. You are not worthy of the title Kage, Menma whispered. Attack him, the Tsuchikage ordered. Why are you all standing there? Attack. The IWA shinobi were broken out of their trance at their leader's order. They swarmed the masked child, weapons drawn. However, it was a little too late. Liberation. The darkness released everything it had devoured. Everything was crushed to smithereens under the pressure. What have you done to my village? The Tsuchikage didn't receive an answer. He looked to see that Menma was gone, along with Mito. What he did won't compare to what I'll do. The Tsuchikage turned to see that the Reikage was free from his lime prison. How? The kunoichi that imprisoned him asked. As the kid said, liberation. In truth, he had been freed from the prison by Yujito. The surge of dark chakra had caused the two tails to force her awake. Han, after them, the Tsuchikage ordered. Kill them both. Yujito, after them, the Reikage ordered. Bring me the girl alive. With a simultaneous bow, the Jinchuriki were off. The Kages had a fight of their own. Menma was running away from the village at top speed, Mito in his arms. The young redhead had never stopped squirming since he grabbed her. It was the reason he hadn't taken off her binds or gag. He couldn't risk her doing something drastic. Mito finally had enough of being kidnapped. Sending a small amount of chakra to her mouth, she was able to lengthen her incisors. In a single bite, she tore though her gag. Clever. Menma thought. Who are you? Mito asked. The question hurt Menma deeply, but he understood her suspicion. He wanted to tell her who he was, but he couldn't. Not now at least. We are Menma, he answered. With a single twist of her body, she pushed herself from his grasp. He watched as she jumped to her unbound feet and bit through her hand binds. You! She screamed, pointing an accusing "You're that stalker." No, we. She never gave him the chance to explain himself. She charged Menma with impressive speed, fist raised. Menma raised an open palm to catch her punch. Once it connected, he was shocked by the strength. She tried a surprise kick to his side would work. He simply caught the leg in mid-strike and pushed her off balance. Impressive, but a sloppy style, he thought. Show us more, she growled as formed a single hand sign, Shadow Clone Jutsu. The name spoke true as she summoned half a dozen replicas of herself. They charged him while she tried to make a retreat. Not on our watch. Menma sent a single tentacle of malleable chakra after the redhead. The substance began crawling over her until her arms were bound behind her. Am I going to make the hentai joke, or are you? She asked. With a single yank, he pulled her back into his arms. He placed her onto the nearest thing to them, a boulder. The chakra began to fuse itself with the rock, holding Mito in place. Get him already! She shouted to the clones. Clone 1 lunged from behind. Menma ducked and allowed her to crash into another clone. That was 2 out of the way already. He noticed 3 more grouped together, waiting for an opportunity to strike. He would not give them one. Repulsion. The blast forced all 3 to dispel at once. He turned to the final clone, and then there was one. The clone looked at him in complete fear. He had just destroyed 3 of her at once. What hope did a single clone have? None, she answered herself, until she looked behind the masked boy. Menma watched in confusion as Mito's clone just smirked before dispelling itself. He turned to see the source of her strange action. Yujuto ni, host of the two-tailed cat. We don't want to fight you, Menma spoke. We only want fire-style mouse hairball. A ball of blue fire flew towards him. He was sure he saw the image of a mouse inside it. Menma jumped back from the flame. Instead of it crashing into the ground, it exploded into more hairballs. The flaming rodents began a wild and directionless charge. Water-style, liquid bullets. Menma's cheeks expanded as he fired a ball of pressurized water at the flames. He aimed for the source, where the other mice were firing from. This created a large steam that covered the immediate area. Menma drew the sword of Nunaboko and took the hit-and-miss stance. He had the knowledge of the style, but he wasn't a master of it. Menma jabbed it forward like a spear, hoping that the steam would block her view. Instead of impaling the kunoichi, she jumped on it. Cat-like balance, she spoke. She then ran down the weapon towards the masked boy. When she was close enough, he raised a hand. Repulsion. It was a direct hit to the kunoichi. She didn't go far. The kunoichi stood up and began brushing off the dust. Just tell me where she is and I'll let you have a painless death, Yujuto offered. No, Menma answered. Good, I'd hate for your kind to go unpunished, she growled before lunging. What does she mean by that? Menma thought. Menma had no time to ponder the answer. The blonde was on him, claws extended. The black-haired boy caught both her upcoming hands. We won't let you harm her, Menma spoke coldly. We won't let you turn her into a breeding stock for you village. He kicked her back. She landed on her feet. We both know you don't care about her heritage. Yujuto spoke. You know very well what's in her. Nibi told me what's in you as well. Does the Reikage know about it? Menma asked. No. Menma began removing his robes, his restrictions along with them. He kept his mask on. Without the restrictions in his robes, he let loose 2 tails of chakra. It took the form of a chakra coat like a Jinchuriki, only this one was black. Yujuto was shocked at how much power the child had possessed. This power is equal to the Nibi's, she thought in shock. We're going to make sure you never get the chance to tell him, Menma stated seriously. Yujuto began flaring the Nibi's chakra. She too entered the chakra cloak. The 2 beasts stood at a standstill, waiting for the other to make a move. As they waited, both were studying and forming a strategy against the other. The Nibi is a fire demon, Menma though, so we'll need to stick with the Sanbai's essence. He's just a child, so he should be low on experience, Yujuto assumed. Menma made the first move, an offensive one. Water style, ripping torrent. A ball of water formed in Menma's hand which he proceeded to fire at her. It moved at a high speed as it expanded to the size of a person. Yujuto countered with 2 large fireballs directly to the water. The blasts were so hot that she extinguished the flames on contact. Flame of judgment. The Nibi-possessed woman punched the ground. It began to crumble away as blue fire rose up. It consumed Menma, only for him to look at it in confusion. Impossible, she shouted. You should be ashes. She proceeded to charge, but stopped mid-attack. She looked down to see a purple tendril piercing through her chest, where her seal was located. She felt a familiar pull in the back of her mind. Menma watched as the host of the Nibi gained consciousness in her mind. Inside of the mindscape was a large nothingness. Menma felt the ground below his feet, but there was nothing there. There was a demon, a large demon. Menma looked at the giant, 2-tailed cat demon. It was made entirely of blue flames with mixed eye colors. Hello, human. The demon spoke. Hello, Nibi-san. Menma spoke. Tell me, why do you possess Sanbai's essence? she asked. Aisabu gave it to us. Menma answered. So did Son Goku. You know their names? She asked in shock. We would also like to know yours. Menma spoke. The Nibby was shocked at the human before her. Since he had the Rabi and other tailed beast essence, she was sure he was familiar with demons. But to ask our name, what do you want with the Kyuubi child? Yujito asked. Menma looked at the woman for a long minute before answering. To protect her, so you want the girl for a good reason. Nibby stated in realization. No wonder you weren't turned to ashes. What now? Menma asked. My host here thought you had dark intentions for the girl. Nibby explained, making her host blush. That fire came directly from hell. Those flames were meant to judge you, but you passed. First one to ever do that. Yujito stated in shock. So since her judgment was on our intentions to meet, we passed? Menma asked. Yes, I thought you were just trying to gain power. Yujito admitted. You're right, we don't care about her blood. Menma agreed, but we also don't care about the Kyuubi. Then what do you care about? Nibby asked. Menma thought on the question before answering. Our little sister. My name is Matatabi. Nibby spoke. Menma smiled as he received another name. Before they could continue their conversation, a spike in chakra broke the connection. Menma and Yujito snapped to consciousness at the sudden surge in chakra, demonic chakra. They turned to see the host of the Five Tails standing right behind them. He was in his initial state with steam flaring around his body. Die! He shouted. He delivered a steam punch to Yujito's side. The blow knocked her into Mito's boulder, cracking it. It also managed to knock the Kumo Kunoichi unconscious. Before Menma could react, Han charged and kicked Menma in his chest. The blow sent him a few feet over the ground. Menma quickly corrected his stance, lava covering his arms. Lava style, lava punch. Menma sent flying fist after fist of lava towards his enemy host. It was similar to his attack in Konoha, just on a vastly smaller scale. The five-tailed Jinchuriki simply flared his steam, creating a shield. He charged the masked child again. Menma had no way of defending himself from the upcoming Jinchuriki, so he took the blow. It didn't send him flying, just knocked him onto his backside. This left him open to attack. No, not like this! Menma mentally cried. He had no name for his next attack. He doubted he ever would. It was just a desperate move that he came up with. He focused as much of Son Goku's essence into his arms. He struck out desperately into the enemy's chest. His fist dug into the Jinchuriki's body. It would leave a hole larger than the child's fist. He wasn't done. He began pumping an entire arm's worth of lava into the man's body. He pulled himself out and jumped back. Menma watched as the man fell to his legs, holding his wound. Anything less than a Jinchuriki would be dead right now. Menma stated. Why? Han questioned. Why what? Menma asked. Menma began to get nervous as he felt the Five Tails host summon more power. His hole began closing as he grew chakra tails. Why do you have the Four Tails ability? He shouted, his voice reaching a demonic roar. What have you done to Rashi? Menma finally took notice of something about this Jinchuriki. Past the anger and disgust, he felt sadness. The Jinchuriki was sad and only getting sadder as he fought on. The sadness seemed to be fueling his anger. Menma realized he couldn't face the berserking man like this. He needed to make some room, time to think, time he didn't have. The demonically charged Han charged Menma. The blow broke several of Menma's ribs. Shit! He couldn't take many more of those. Menma felt something overwhelm him, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long while. Fear. An overwhelming fear. Han raised his hand to attack, only to stop. A sensation covered all of them. A sensation that froze a rampaging six-tailed host and removed Menma's fears, only to replace them with a primal urge to steal it, Kyuubi's chakra. But he fought it. He replaced that feeling with another, anger. Menma felt rage boiling up in his skin, ready to burn the world if ever given the chance. But he spoke in a voice so cold that fire would have frozen. He lowered his mask, only partially. He used one of his visible eyes and glared at his demon-possessed sister. But he never saw her, he saw the demon. I warned you! He hissed. Then he saw the child. Menma. The boy was so different, but too much the same. Kyuubi continuously pumped its chakra. Pumped its hate. Trying to force its way to freedom from the human's body. But the child was like a black hole, continuously draining him. If he kept that up, the child would completely devour him. Kyuubi pulled back. For now, Yujito and Han stared at the child before them. A child that had just glared the Kyuubi into submission. I'm taking Mito. Menma spoke. It wasn't a voice full of anything, it was completely empty, but the underlying threat was still there. Menma was going to take her home.